What is going on, Don't Unfriend Me Nation? Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Matthew Spear and Olivia Spear from the Don't Unfriend Me Show had a visitor today, gentleman who's in the right, Damani Felder, decided to grace our presence and stop on by, went to dinner. Livy and I'll talk about it. It was a great time, and we are going to be seeing him on the Tim Pool podcast in just a little over 58 minutes. We dropped him off, and he is officially going to be on the Tim Pool podcast. He's doing the sound check right now. I text him, and it'll start at 8 o'clock. So he's going to go through, run a show with Tim and meet the crew. And we're going to have 2 hours, or at least an hour of it with him. And we'll see if we go to 10, if we hit goal. Most assuredly, we'll stick around. Great conversation. Tell you a little bit about that. Got some pictures to show you. And it was pretty cool, right, Liv?
It was awesome.
They can't hear you unless you're talking to your mic.
It was awesome.
You need to get that thing way up.
Better?
Yeah, much better.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, honey.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody. It's Red Friday. Make sure you get your red on if you do not have it on already. Remember, everyone deployed. We're covering not only the Damani interview with Tim Pool, but we're going to be also covering just some of the local news of the week. Talk about that. Let's rock and roll. See you in 3 minutes.
It's Red Friday, RED Friday, which stands for Remember Everyone Deployed. A movement designed to honor veterans and deployed U.S. troops by wearing a red shirt every Friday. As simple as that may be, Red Friday is a great way to back those who serve our country. Go to dumbshow.com and search for Red Friday to get your red on.
Howdy, y'all. This is Damani Felder. These are perilous times in American history, and now more than ever, we need individuals who are willing to wage war on the ideological battlefield with like-minded individuals. And I can think of no better place to start than my friends at the Don't Unfriend Me Show. So thank you for being here, and enjoy the show.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Matthew Spear and Olivia over there in the red. Hello.
All right, was late, so I'm getting all my stuff up.
Oh, you're fine. No problem. Had a really interesting evening last night, and then tonight I want to say yeah, obviously I'm out of practice. I want to say thank you to everybody who allowed me to have the night off and Olivia off on Thursday because we had a chance to go see our daughter perform. We were really excited. It was really cool. It was one of her probably biggest solos she's ever had singing, and it was just an amazing production. Here's the video. If you haven't had a chance to see it, enjoy. Pretty cool.
She did fantastic.
Yeah, it was the second best solo of the night for sure. This one girl just crushed it. Oh
yeah.
my God, she was amazing.
Yes,
I mean,
was.
she can go and sell records right now. Not records, but digital copies of iTunes, whatever. She was amazing. But we were very proud of Hayden. It was very 1940s, that type of feel. You know, big band swing. She crushed it. She just absolutely crushed it. It was an amazing time. I always like these little news updates. You know, it makes me feel like we're doing something important. So that's kind of cool. So just to give you guys an update, we are cataloging. That's not a word. Cataloging our build, and everything arrived today, and a lot of it, about 30 or 40%. And the TVs came in today because we're going to have 4 of those, and the new computers came in today, and a lot of the lenses and cameras and a lot of the equipment and paint and everything else came in. And want to let you know, so far we've spent about $13,236 so far. We're about 90% done, and there's probably another 2 or 3, maybe 4,000 in labor and some other things that need to be done. But so far, it's really coming together. Yes, I'm doing the work myself. I'm already starting to paint tomorrow, getting it all laid out. I've got the whole thing step by step. We're super excited. Olivia and I have a vision. We're going to be doing the work together. Just moved everything out of the great room into the dining room, and you can see moved everything out. And this is going to be the space, and it is completely empty. And that's the left wall, and here's the right wall. So you can get an idea of how much larger it is than what we're currently in. It's like 3 times the size of this room. And we are super, super duper excited to get this thing started. So just to let you know, that is going to take shape very fast. Now, some of the things have to, I'm thinking a launch date of June 10th to June 15th, somewhere around there. And that is an incredibly fast time, considering that we just had it the 16th, less than 30 days. But we don't know how to move. I'm like Donald Trump. Let's get it done. Let's get it done.
Mel wants to know if it all got delivered by that amazing, outstanding Amazon delivery person.
Everyone was good except for the Wayfair guy. He was a jerk. And
the tables came in.
Yeah, the tables came in, and the desks, and they look pretty beat up. So we're going to see what they look like. But
the boxes.
But that's why we're doing this ahead of time. So we don't need the second desk. But right now we've got, yes, I do work fast. My budget is all laid out. I've got my budget all set up, and I did all the work with Apple, and I got my budget right here. So we're 14,251. Sorry. And that's going to go up a little bit because we had paint today and all that. Well, that natural light's going to be gone. There's going to be no natural light coming to that room. That room is going to be literally gray, like Olivia behind her. Ceiling, crown molding to the floor, dark gray. And the reason why is we don't want the bounce on the light. We want the light to stay where it's supposed to be and sit. That's what we're having problems with here, is that the light is bouncing off so many things that we're not able to light properly. So those will have blackout curtains, and then the doors, the entryways, will have barn doors. We bought 12-foot barn doors that are going to close that hole, and then on the entryway is where we're going to have the placard with the Chuck Peterson studio. It'll have the Don't Unfriend Me logo, and then everyone who donated that night will be on a placard right there. And that's going to be in the entryway. So now it's putting it all together, building it, and I've got all my tools, got everything I need. And I'm just like, Olivia will tell you, I'll work 14 hours a day. I'll be up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I won't go to bed till 11 o'clock at night, and we'll just crush this thing. And I'm excited for it. So we're really, really pumped. I hope you are too. And we're going to keep walking you through the process. And thank you all for making it possible. It's just amazing. Please do me a favor, share, like, subscribe, do all that. Get this thing shared out tonight, because I really want Damani to feel supported. Thank you for the first donation of the night, Joanne Lutman. It's Red Friday. Thank you for $10. We greatly appreciate that. Did we have another one I missed?
No, not yet.
But it says 20.
Streamlabs. I don't understand. I pushed it once.
It's okay.
Go in and fix it.
Let's just fix it. Or Joanne has to donate another $10. One of the two. So anyway, things are going really well. And like I said, this wall right here will have the TVs, 4 75-inch TVs. And then those will wirelessly, there's going to be wires that are going to run up the wall, come across. I'm running 50 foot of coaxial cable, Ethernet, USB-C, HDMI, speaker, and that's going to be at the terminal end behind the desk. So everything's going to be wireless, like power, and then all the wires are going to be hidden. And instead of having these computers right in front of us, which limit what you can see of Olivia and I in the camera, so we have to zoom so far back, the new cameras will be right up to us, and we will not have computers. Like, the computers will be against the wall. She gets 2 TVs, I get 2 TVs, and I can run the show from there. So now I can have a dedicated computer over here running all the cameras, and then audio pumping from here and going into that computer. And now I don't need a computer in front of me. It's all right on that wall, which is going to make a huge difference for lighting and everything else. So
you can refresh the total.
I will. And we're really taking our time on this. We've designed something that is very, very cool. Put it back in. Joanne just donated again. She put it back in as a joke. She's like, she donated another 10.
Really?
So anyway, we're really pumped up and we're excited. So I'll give you daily updates and show you where we're at. But with this weekend, you should see a massive change in this room. But we're so excited. And what's great is that right when you enter our house, you don't have to go into anywhere. You don't have to go. You can just literally take a left and you're in the studio. So that means we can invite people over, bring them through those doors, and have them be on the podcast. Thank you, Joanne. There's a restroom that's cut off.
Here you go.
Fine, here you go. Nice. But there's a restroom right there. It doesn't allow anyone to really walk into any of our private areas. So we can use this and bring people into our home, and it feels like a business. And what's great is it's got a 100-foot driveway, so people can come in here, and if they want privacy and their celebrity, they don't have to feel like they're going to be seen. And so we can really do this in a very cool way. So we're really pumped. I think you guys are going to love it. That room is going to change. I mean, it's absolutely, the acoustics in it are fantastic. It's Olivia's piano room, and that's going to be this room. Damani just sent me something.
Ooh, what do you say? What do you say?
Oh, nothing. So he's so let's talk about Damani Felder, since we've talked enough about this. So Damani Felder has been a friend of the show since we were fans of Damani Felder. And if you remember, it's when Leroy and Amy first came on. Leroy was trying to get Damani to come on, and Damani didn't have the time. So Trey, Damani's brother, they were the Wright brothers, just decided to come on. And
I remember that.
Yeah. So Trey was amazing. I mean, it was just, for everybody, no one ever needs to apologize if you can't donate. Please don't even worry about it. Everybody fills the gap. And it's okay. If your funds are low and you're hurting right now, just don't feel, I never wanted to feel like that. I never wanted to feel like you have to donate. Nobody has to donate. If you have the means and you're comfortable and things are good, then, you know, your vacation's taken care of, you got your taxes done, you got your house caught up, and you're sitting around and you're literally trying to decide, do I want to go out and buy that, you know, 73rd Afghan rug, or do I want to go ahead and maybe help the Don't Unfriend Me show? Make the choice, but don't ever apologize. You got to put your oxygen on first, and we're going to be fine. This isn't our only income. The donations are a huge help, and they keep the show running, but we will survive. We're survivors. We know how to do that. So if you can help, great. If not, help when you can. Okay. So anyway, Damani, about, I don't know, 2.5, 3 years ago, his brother came on and Damani couldn't. And Damani is horrible with private messages. He just doesn't answer them. And neither do I. I'm pretty bad too. So I just reached out to him. He liked one of my videos and he's like, dude, great video. And I'm like, why are you pretending like you don't know who we are? Well, he doesn't, because it was his brother and he just didn't know. So I was like, well, why don't you come on the show? And he's like, sure. And I was like, okay, 30 days. And he's like, no, I can't do it. I'm too busy. I can do it this time. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. You know, we want you on because you're a good dude and you're a smart dude. But I looked at Damani as like if we got Damani Felder on the show, we had done something massive. And I still feel that way. So he came on, and Liv, you remember, and it was just a great conversation. And
yeah, I remember Leroy. I was a little jealous because he wasn't here that night.
Right. And Leroy was a big fan. So we've seen him, I think, on the show 3 or 4 times since then, and he's kind of been a dumb show staple. He comes. He was going to be here for election night, but he was on a cruise, and I told him to get his priorities straight, and he still didn't choose us. And I'm like, fine, whatever, go on your cruise, lazy jerk. So Sandy says, thank you, Matt, for that reminder. I feel guilty sometimes for not being able to. Nobody should feel guilty. You know, I'm not going to go into details, but we had somebody enter our life last night again who I most assuredly am so happy that they are no longer in our lives. And I think my daughter set the tone very well from what I understand, and told that person very similar, like I did, that I don't want you in our lives. And there was a comment made, and I'm just hearing this secondhand from Hayden about, oh, well, you know, you're spending millions and trillions of dollars on this podcast, and, you know, the judgment that's there, not knowing that how much we've saved and how frugal Olivia and I have been this year and the last 2 years, and how the money that was made was completely donation based and unexpected. But I know who I am. Olivia knows who she is. My family knows who we are. And we are always so very open with the amount of money we make on this show and where it goes and what we do with it. And we do that because that's the trust you invest in us. So it's funny you say that. You're not the only one that gets to feel guilty sometimes. That wasn't a very cool thing to say, and I heard it, and nothing else bothered me except that, because I take that integrity so personally. So I know what you're saying. But please understand from the bottom of my heart, it's never required. And it never will be. And we hope to get to a spot where we can get picked up, where we don't have to worry about this, or Facebook just works some sort of stupid magic to give us our monetization back, and then we don't have to ever donate again. But until then, we need to. And that's the way this is. And we're excited. You don't owe me anything, and I owe you everything. That's the way I look at it. And every day we have to earn what we do on this show. And we're going to try to do that again today. So let's get back to Damani. I know it'll pick up once we stop talking about this, but we're really excited about it. So Bobby Richardson, I missed a couple of nights. Love you all. Thank you, Bobby. I noticed you were gone. I was going to call you today and be like, where the hell's Bobby? But thank you so much, Bobby. Your donations have helped so much, and along with everyone else. So Damani is on the show last Friday. You remember this, Lev?
Mm-hmm.
And then he drops what news and breaks it on the Don't Unfriend Me show. What is that?
He drops that he's going to be on the Tim Pool podcast tonight.
And that is massive for Damani, because Tim Pool has 2.5 million followers. Now, Damani I think he has almost 300,000 followers. And this is a massive thing because they're going to finally see what he deserves. Damani needs to be picked up more than I ever do. Damani is a better critical thinker than I am. He is a better orator than I am. And I believe that Damani has a message that although highbrow, it resonates with people more than I do. And so I admire him and I demonstrate deference to him. So when he broke that on the show, it made me feel good. But I was like, oh my God, dude, I'm literally 15 minutes away from Tim Pool. And Tim probably will never have me on because I cuss. But that doesn't mean I would cuss on his show. When I'm in Rome, I'm going to do as Romans do. But I'm like, we better spend time. And I'm not going to lie to you. Olivia will tell you I was a little trepidatious because I don't like meeting new people. And I don't like them knowing where I live and everything else. But Damani, just something clicked between him and I, and it always does on the show. We laugh at each other's jokes. We get each other's highbrow where other people have no idea what the hell we're talking about. And we Dennis Miller each other to death. We get it because that's just how we think. So he immediately after the show, and I didn't think he was going to, I thought he was going to blow us off. And the funny thing is he thought that his wife thought maybe that we would blow him off because that's the industry. And I don't ever blow anybody off. If I say you're going to be on my show, you're on my show. If I say I'm going to call you, I'm going to call you. That will never change. And he didn't even know I was a Texan, which is interesting. So he texted us his flight details when, honey?
Monday? No.
Oh no,
Monday.
it was Friday. It was right after the show, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So right after the show, he gives us his flight details, and I'm like, so I reach out and I'm just like, hey, no pressure. If you can make it, we're 15 minutes away. Great. If not, don't sweat it. And right around 10:30, 11 o'clock, I usually get my power nap in. And I text him. I'm like, hey, man, I'm going to be available around 2:30 to 3 o'clock. Olivia's at work. Don't feel any pressure. If you want to, come on over. We'll go to dinner. We'll get you back home. And he's like trying to literally squeeze in as much time between the time he's got to go see Tim Pool and us. And it's like he's worried more about us than Tim Pool. And so he comes over and I see him for the first time and we do the, because I'm a brother. So I got the lingo, I can do the handshakes and, pat him and wrap my arm around him, give him a big hug and vice versa. And it was like literally being connected with a brother I have not seen in years. It felt like somebody from the military had just come back into my life. And it was one of the best. That's a huge smile by me, by the way. It's massive, massive smile.
It was freezing.
It was freezing.
We decided to sit outside and didn't realize that it was kind of cold. The kids had bailed on us by that time. Went to the car because it was.
Yeah, they were our windbreakers, So we went up to More Better, which is a restaurant here, and we just had an amazing time. And yes, I am much taller than him.
Yep, we did leave the food there. I realized I was like, I think we left our leftovers there. Yep, they're probably still sitting on that chair.
Yep, we left the food for sure.
Funny.
But I didn't realize how much bigger I was than him. Taller. I am.
I took that picture.
And yes, and you can tell here if you know anything about police work, I am definitely got my concealed carry in there. So it's I'm flagging a little bit, but it was so good to see him, and I can't even tell you how amazing it was. It was just, I don't know. He was so like, damn it. I wish I would have booked a longer period of time so I could stay. Cause we're like, dude, you should stay with us.
They're like kindred spirits. Seriously. It's brothers from another mother. Pretty much you got along so well.
It's like Ebony and Ivory. It's like literally like Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson on the keyboard. That's what it felt like. And it just made like, we had a shorthand, and we understood each other, and we made black jokes and white jokes and Jew jokes, and we just got each other. And he's so humble.
And he invited us down to stay at his house.
Yeah. Well, of course. And I invited him. I said, go get your wife and get your ass out here and let's go fishing and come up. So he's going to hang out. But it was just an amazing. And I've just realized I've met some of the best people from this show. I mean, Barry Morgenstein, Tonto. I call Tonto a friend now. I mean, Tonto texts me and writes me more emails than Olivia does. And it's just, I've met so many great people, Leroy and Amy and just, Eli and Ryan Samuels and Homer, and I just
Cheyenne.
Wow. Yeah. Cheyenne too. And Laura Logan and, Roseanne for the brief time that we interacted. It's so cool to see. And this is going to be monumental for Damani. So I wanted to share it with you tonight. We're going to watch it at 8:00. And I don't care about us. This is all about him. And the guy, get this. So he goes, I need to see where the bread is made. Show me the office. So he comes in and he goes, I need to see where Matt Spear sits. And he sits down and he's like, turn it on. I want to feel this. And he gets in the shot and you can see his picture sitting in the dumb show. And he was just so blown away at the set and everything else. And it was just awesome. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And it was just awesome. So I just wanted to share it with you. And it was pretty damn cool. Yenny, what the fuck are you?
Molesting my hair.
What's wrong with this cat? She's so funny.
Every time Bobby says, give her a kiss.
Yeah, she's sweet. All right. Well, we got a show to do. So enough of that and enough oohing and on. Like I said, he just texted me and I sent him some of the pictures and he's like, sent some like great pictures, whatever.
Hey, Darren, congratulations. His son's graduating.
Oh,
are we talking high school or college? But tell him congratulations and go have fun.
Yeah, have a good time. Tell him hello from us. One of the things that's really cool is that I have our hats in a closet here. And Damani comes in, I'm like, I have a hat for you. And he's like, oh man, thanks so much. And I broke out 3 of them, brown one and black and gray. And, and he's like, I'll just take one. I don't want to take. And I said, bullshit. He's like, oh, this black and gray one's nice, but so's this gray and black one. And I said, take all 3. And he's like, I can't do that. And he's like, you know what? I can give one to Trey. And I'm like, yes, Trey would love it. So he's like, as we're talking, he's just like, I got to figure out how I can mention the dumb show. I have to figure out how I can talk about you and Olivia in the show and that's the way he thinks. He's going on this could possibly turn him into, in my opinion, a top 10 conservative voice. I truly believe that once Damani gets the confidence to stop and just go for this full blower, that he will just explode. And the fact that he's like, yeah, I got to find a way to plug you. 2 hours, the most important 2 hours of my life, and I've got to mention the dumb show. It just blows me away. He's not like I've heard black people are. He's just fantastic. I mean,
oh my God, Matthew.
I was as the one black guy I know, I'm so excited. Anyway, so it was a great time.
Oh my goodness.
Joanne
funny.
Again?
No, that was John Lutman.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. I do know the difference. Yes, I see, said the blind man as he's pissing on himself in the wind. So, Liv, we have a little bit of a micro show to do. We're going to cover some things, and then we're going to go watch Damani live. I'm so excited, man, to see, because I know what he's thinking. And he's nervous. And I'm like, dude, you can't be nervous. It's Tim Pool. Like, Tim Pool is super smart. He's an intellectual. He's going to love you to death. Don't just be you. Yeah, I do love the cross-show support, too. Like, that means the world to me. The fact that, Tonto, is supportive of us and Laura was, it's so good to see people work together and not do it for a percentage. That means the world to me. I got to send Tonto a hat. Remind me.
It's JD Stillwell's birthday.
JD Stillwell. Happy birthday, buddy. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. about all you're getting.
We need to get Still Point to get on that
Yes,
song.
where's our birthday song, Still Point?
Come on. So, JD, happy birthday. We love you, buddy. We really do. And you don't want us to sing. I get it. So, South Africa. Have you seen the crosses on the side of the road?
I only saw from the drone inside the Oval Office on the video. I haven't seen actual pictures of it.
So this is side of a road in South Africa. And the liberals are denying it exists, so you know it does, right? So the moment that they say it's not real, you know it's real. That's a little bit bigger than a drone.
No.
It's a chopper. No, I know. There was no sound, but I'm just telling you, it's a chopper. You can hear it.
Yeah, not a genocide at all.
Well,
are they killing their families too? Killing the whole? Is this what's happening?
Well, I'll answer it in a second. Let's just watch the film. See. So you can see there are thousands upon thousands of crosses, and each one represents a white farmer who have been killed. Now, is that genocide? Genocide has a very specific connotation towards it. Is a group of people have to be killed based upon the race, color, creed, religious ideology, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it has to be a systematic annihilation of those groups of people in mass. So what does a genocide actually mean? Well, it's an unprovoked reaction. So when people say, oh, well, Hamas is a genocide. No, it's not. This is war. And you may not like it. You may not agree with it. You may not appreciate it. So what? Yes, we'll have a show on Monday. Yes, the show Memorial Day. And I've got a great thing to announce for Fridays in the future. But don't distract me yet. So I'm already getting sidetracked, and I got two things I got to remember now. So is this a genocide? The qualifications of all of it except for en masse. But that's enough for me. And that may represent 20 years of white farmers, but it's enough for me, where it's a systematic attack. And that doesn't even talk about the violence and brutality that's been going against white farmers. So in my opinion, whether the number is 200 or the number is 200,000, it hits all the qualifications of a genocide based upon why people are killed and the reasons, maybe not the number, but that doesn't matter. It's enough for me.
Is it just the farmers, or is it all white people they're killing?
It's predominantly farmers. Yeah, they're going after
is that?
Because they own 76% of the land, and blacks in South Africa only own about 6%.
So they're trying to take back the land.
Yeah. And the government is calling for this. And so you're seeing a lot of this. Now, I support Donald Trump immensely on this. Real quick, Bobby says, Matt, when are you guys going to have another big show? Oh, I don't know. Next year? I mean, like we just did on Friday? I can't imagine we would like to do that, but maybe do it for Gold Star Families or Travis Banyan and do a fundraiser that isn't donation based every year and make it into a convention. That would be awesome. But that's for another time. But we are going to have guests more and more often. So you can see we had one last night, night before, amazing guest. And we're going to continue to have guests. And that's one thing we're going to continue to try to do is book people and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the new studio is going to allow us to do that too. So anyway, with this video, it's pretty concerning to me. And it's obvious that the Democrats are pushing against this because let's face it, they don't want white people because they know that these people are going to vote for Trump, and they have a problem with any immigration because this is legal immigration. If it was illegal, they wouldn't care, as we are aware. Here is, so wouldn't that be defined as a massacre too? Yes. Listen, murders happen all the time, and murders happen to certain murders happen to certain demographics. Look at the transgender community. Single-handedly, they are the most isolated and targeted community in existence. at least in the United States history. And you could say, well, wait a second, Christians are persecuted more than transgenders. No, they're not. Not based upon the percentages, maybe on the numbers. So is it a genocide against transvestites? No, it's crime. And usually it's not designed, it's because these people are addicted to drugs, they're sex workers, they have a lot of suicide, a lot of self-esteem issues, and they put themselves in precarious positions where crime will ultimately impact them. Is that genocide? No. In this situation, these people are farmers and they're white and they're being killed because of those categories. That, in my opinion, is enough to be genocide. I wanted to be clear. Maybe the numbers en masse compared to other things like Kenya or Mogadishu or even in Russia in World War II, there's a very big difference. The numbers aren't there to be considered comparable to other genocides, but that doesn't mean it's not a genocide. If you look up and I'm defending Donald Trump here.
Is South Africa in NATO and aren't they an ally?
NATO, North Atlantic Treaty of Oils?
Mm-hmm.
You mean United Nations, not NATO.
Okay, that was the question. So.
Yeah, I don't think they're part of NATO. No, I would be shocked if no. No, I don't think it's North Atlantic Treaty of Oils. They're not the North Atlantic. I'm looking for you. Hold on. Not that it's NATO. I'm almost 100% sure it's not NATO. So United Nations, yes. Yeah, no, so it's not a part of North Atlantic because it's not in the North Atlantic. But it's part of the UN. So that's something you need to think about. But as far as genocide, the term, I want to give it to you, the actual textbook definition, because in the legal definition, January 6th was not an insurrection. From the written definition, it most assuredly was a violent interrupt of official government proceedings or federal proceedings. That is an insurrection. The armed and the violent takeover and attempted coup is in the legal definition. So it's not an insurrection. By verbal definition, you can call it an insurrection, but from the legal standpoint, it is not. So it's very, very important. Words matter. But genocide, here are some examples of genocide. And I just mentioned Rwanda, Armenia, Cambodia, Holocaust. These are all massive. 1.5 million, 1.7 million, 6 million, 800,000 in 100 days. Those are mass genocides. Those are extinction level events for that group of people. But the requirements of a genocide from a non-numbers perspective are the following. Killing members of the group, check. Causing seriously body or mental harm to members of a group, that's 2, yes. Deliberately inflicting conditions calculated to bring about the group's physical destruction, yes, because death most assuredly is. Imposing measures to prevent births from within the group, no. But I'll tell you what, if you kill the husband or you kill the woman, that may have an inadvertent effect, but it does qualify. Forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Well, when you kill a parent or kill parents, plural, it is going to have that effect. Everything in the textbook definition of genocide is qualified here. Yep. So these people have every right to seek asylum within the United States rules and regulations of immigration law. And the thing is that even if it doesn't, they're doing it right. They're not hopping the border. They're coming in at a checkpoint and claiming asylum. This is what it's designed for. And I don't have a problem with people who are verifiably seeking asylum. I have a problem who are illegally, they're coming in for asylum and then staying without doing their court hearings. Those people are illegal. Very big difference. So this qualifies as genocide from a textbook definition. From a numbers perspective, comparison, contrast, it doesn't hold water, but that doesn't matter. It's still genocide. There's a difference between mass genocide and genocide. Rwanda, Romania, Cambodia, Vietnam, Nazi 1938, 1940 Germany, those are mass genocides. There is a mass genocide and then there is genocide. And this qualifies as genocide. There's nothing that the U.S. government is saying here that is not accurate. The media is playing fucking word games. I cussed. I'm sorry. They're playing word games. I want to try to stop cussing because I want to go on Tim Pool. I want to touch his what does he wear?
Beanie.
Thank you. Here is the video of our wonderful press secretary crushing and slaying the media. Listen to this.
The president showed a video that he said showed more than 1,000 burial sites of white South Africans that he said were murdered. We know that that was not true and that the video wasn't showing that. So I wonder, why did the president choose to show that? What's not true, Yamiche? It's not true. The video was showing a burial site. It is unsubstantiated that that's the case.
No, it is true that video showed the crosses that represent.
Miss Levitt.
The video.
I will just let you know, pearl and black looks real good. Looks good on you, ma'am. And it accentuates your features. Having a high contrast jacket or a low contrast jacket with a high contrast shirt, and that pearl brings out the highlights in your hair. You must do it again. And the hair behind the ears is fantastic. It brings you to a level of kind of a simplification in your overall look, but still very classy and professional. Please continue to do this look. This looks good. Just let you know.
Video showed images of crosses in South Africa about white farmers who have been killed and politically persecuted because of the color of their skin. And those crosses are representing their lives. Those crosses are representing their lives in the fact that they are now dead and their government did nothing about it. Are you disputing that there's no...
The video showed what the president claimed it showed, because it did not show that. But even more, what I'm asking you is, who at the White House...
No, it did show that. It showed white crosses representing people who have perished because of racial persecution.
Verifies the videos that the president shows, and what protocols are in place when there's unsubstantiated information being put out for the world and world leaders to show?
Yamiche, what's unsubstantiated about the video? The video shows crosses that represent the dead bodies of people who were racially persecuted by their government. In fact, the Associated Press, of all places, has a picture of that very monument, and the caption from the Associated Press is, "Each cross marks a white farmer who has been killed in a farm murder." So it is substantiated, not just by that video and the physical evidence that everybody saw on display in the Oval Office, but also by another outlet in this room, the Associated Press. So you should take it up with them if you believe the claim is unsubstantiated, and that's a ridiculous line of questioning.
Boom.
And of course, it was a black reporter asking those questions.
Listen, you know, Democrats, they can't help themselves. They cannot help themselves from making this about race. It's always about race. Their entire platform is identity politics. Who's shocked? It's almost like move on. Check the box and move on. Levitt said it best. What are you talking about? So, Olivia, let me ask you a question. How many times when we're driving on the highway, we just saw one on our way back, 2 of them, that people have crosses and presents. Is that a burial site? In your eyes, if that's where they were killed, is that a memorial site or a burial site in the people's eyes?
It's not the burial site, because I know bodies, they're buried somewhere else, but it's a memorial site.
Right.
Like right down the street. I see it every single day. About a year ago, a 16-year-old girl who goes to the local high school just gotten her license, just got her car, and I guess she had been at a friend's house studying, and she was going just down Main Street, and the exit coming off of 7 right there.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it was not a drunk driver. His brakes went out.
Yep.
And he couldn't stop, and he smashed into her, and she died.
Right.
And
horrible.
Mom decorates it for every holiday. I see her out there sitting by the cross every once in a while. So it's a connection. She feels to that spot because that's where her daughter was last alive.
It's a memorial.
So it's a memorial and a connection.
And a
family.
memorial to what? We're about to learn this for Memorial Day. What is Memorial Day? It's remembering the dead.
Yep.
So it is a memorial. It is a remembrance. And although not a burial site, it signifies that some atrocity took place or some loss took place.
That's what that reporter kept saying. It's not a burial site. No, it's not a burial site. It's a memorial.
Yeah, but Donald Trump said burial site. But I can understand why Donald Trump said that. Okay, because I hate to say it, but some of these bodies weren't reclaimed. Some of these bodies were beyond recognition destroyed.
Were they beaten or did they burn or what? Burned.
Or not found. So please understand that some of these may be considered burial sites, and they are at least bringing the memory of these loved ones. It doesn't matter. This is semantics. You literally are just doing the liberal playbook of creating a straw man fallacy. You're just straw manning this. You want to worry about the verbiage when honestly, it's more offensive to you than the actual action of genocide. You're worried about the semantics. And this is the problem. This is like the butthurt Olympics. Who's had it harder? South African white people or South Africans? Okay, we get it. Johannesburg might be ran by white people. And yes, apartheid took place. And yes, black people had it bad. We understand that. Well, maybe black people shouldn't have sold black people into slavery. Maybe black people should have went ahead and kept black people down. Maybe there shouldn't have been ethnic killings by rival groups where ultimately white people could come in from overseas and take over their country. Maybe if black people would stop killing each other, they could advance. This is an issue that needs to be talked about. It's not who has the highest level of butthurt Olympics here. Apartheid was horrible. Black people in South Africa had horrible treatment. We understand this. I've read the Stephen Biko story. I know what happened. I understand. I've studied over Nelson Mandela when he was a communist and then reverted away from communism. I get it. I understand. But that's then. This is now. And the now is the problem, not the then. And it's really hard for people to sit here and not be racist and say, well, you give black people power and then they start killing white people. Because that's the narrative. This doesn't look good for black people. And this isn't.
But according to them, black people can't be racist.
This is right. This is indicative of the entire ridiculous, toxic racial identity politics that somehow because black people had it bad, white people can't have it bad. Or because black people are not in a place of power based upon their numbers of being 16% of the population, and you're shocked that 70% of the CEOs are white. Well, that's indicative of the numbers. That's actually an actual representation of the demographics. And I'm sorry that doesn't work out for you, but this is the double standard. And when you have people here in the United States, predominantly the liberals, who say, well, blacks can't be racist because they're not in a position of power, that is complete ridiculous notion, because in South Africa, that is whites in power, but a large number of black people are committing the violence.
What exactly is apartheid?
Mel says it best. This is the reverse of apartheid.
Yes, but what exactly is it?
Okay, so break the word down.
Apart.
Okay.
That means separated.
Okay. To separate. Okay.
And I have no idea. Okay,
so what if I say justified? Now what is it? Now what does that sound like? Take a second. Don't. You've been through this a million times with me, and so just don't.
I know what justified means. I'm horrible at. I know what a word is, but I'm horrible at saying what the actual definition is.
It's okay, but if I say justified, what does that say?
It means to.
I'm justified.
Justified in what you did.
What is just?
Justice is.
No, not justice. Just. What is just?
That I wouldn't be able to tell you.
This person is just. This person is chaotic good. This person is noble. This person is honorable. They're just. They're righteous. Got it?
Okay.
So what is fide?
It's got to be a Latin thing that's added to everything.
It is absolutely not Latin. The suffix actually follows into Old English. Oh. Take a second. Justified. You're good. You're honorable. You're noble. And fide. Justified. What does justified mean?
You did something and
good.
It was.
Yep.
You had a reason to do it.
That's right. And you were right to do it. It's an action that's justified. So it's something that is inherently right to do. So what is apartheid?
Separating
people. It's the action of separating people. But remember, justified, the action of doing something good, and apart is the justification of doing something apart. No, not bad, apart. So apartheid is basically stating that we are going to separate or isolate two groups of people in this case, and this is the action of it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So apartheid is apartness.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Cool. So when we look at that, that's what apartheid is.
Got it.
And it was the justification of, righteous and action or thought, right? So when you say apartheid, it's we are separating for the good of the people. We are separating this group of people from this group of people. It's
segregation.
Very much like racial segregation. But segregation is not the actual justified action of segregation. Apartheid has a feeling of like manifest destiny or the Great Society, that it was written. It would be very similar to nationalism and wanting to be isolated from the rest of the world. Apartheid it's not a prescription of God, but it is an order, so to speak, of the way things should be.
Got it.
Now, apartheid is actually Dutch. And the influence of whites from Belgium and from Deutschland were massive. Germany, and there is a huge influence of that group in South Africa that rich whites came in and took the country and the land from the blacks. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And the word itself, you might hear this, Afrikaans. It's AFRIKAANS.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about this, you may hear that. It just might come up again.
Okay.
That's it.
Yep.
And a big thing about apartheid is it comes from a white racial minority.
Got it.
So a racial minority overlooks and overrules the larger population. It's a minority group leading a majority group.
A minority group. Okay.
So like whites would be the minority, but they're overall ruling the country.
Got it.
Just like women were a minority in CEO roles 10 years ago. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Karen's getting into denial of political and civil rights. That's a completely different situation. But yes, that all has to do with what happened during apartheid. Well, that was a quick hour. That's what
was.
I apologize. But honestly, the next two are going to be great. If we have some more time, we most assuredly are going to talk about some other stuff. But here's the thing. This is great. We've got Tim Pool and Damani Felder. And we're going to cover it. If I can make sure I can find it. I don't know where Tim streams from.
Do I know?
Well, I know it's Timcast. But he's got multiple pages. I think it's Timcast IRL in real life. And there's Damani.
Yeah, Timcast IRL on YouTube, it looks like.
Live 8 p.m. Eastern on Rumble and YouTube. Okay, I'm going to Rumble. There it is. Oh, he's in the green room.
Like just like very normal people thrown off all the time.
Community guidelines are such a joke.
Yeah.
Like you'll have women up there just doing whatever.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah. And they have a free pass.
That's ridiculous.
But I'll get a violation for God knows what.
Violation.
Yeah, you just like cough the wrong way and they block you forever.
Yep.
So I think I think the OnlyFans, that might be the trick. I think maybe that's how we could stay up. Andy, we might need you to...
I got you, baby.
Extra contract.
I already got one.
I mean, we do have those RVs, so...
We do have the RVs.
I just never give you my link.
Yeah. So you're in from Houston, right?
Yep. Houston, Texas. Just a little bit north of there, actually. So we actually escaped Harris County.
Yeah. There you go.
We moved just over the county line. We're like, this is going to be better.
Yeah.
There's still battles to fight.
Sure.
But it's a little nicer.
Yeah.
Being in a deep red county, Montgomery County.
Yeah.
They're very consistently on the right side of the shoes. So, but there's battles we're fighting there.
Yeah.
There's battles we're fighting everywhere. And this comes down to how willing you are to be a part of that fight.
Right.
It's easy to do it during an election year.
Yeah.
But
when
when
you're
you
all fired up, yeah.
When it's an off election year, 25, 6, 7, we still have to hustle just as much.
Right.
To make those good things happen, because that's what the left does. They play that long game so well.
I mean, because that's kind of the crises that a lot of Republicans are in right now is how do we get people to turn out when Trump's on the ballot?
Yeah.
And people still haven't seemed to have cracked the code yet. I don't know what kind of things are you seeing.
Yeah.
It's working.
It's going to be a mixture, because there's not going to be another Trump per se.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a faction of the movement that is definitely hardline MAGA conservatives.
Right.
And then there's more the GOP establishment. And there's going to be a clash probably in 27, 28.
Right.
We try to rediscover our identity and get
Funny,
ready
we
for
talked
that
about that
next
today.
election.
We did talk about it at dinner.
It's so weird to see him on
not immediately
the podcast.
Yeah.
and we were just sitting.
Yeah, I mean,
across
because that's
from
kind of the fear I
him.
have. Is like it's clearly Trump's party right now, but that establishment, those creeps are still hanging around.
Yep.
I mean, they have the finance, they have the institutions.
Yep.
What's stopping them from, if there's not a clear successor, just jumping back in and
not much
throwing Nikki Haley at us or something?
Well, we can't get out of our own way, and that's the frustrating thing that people see now is even when we do have access to those levers of power, we do nothing with it.
Yeah.
Like the infamous John McCain thumbs down bill. Like we can't keep metaphorically shooting ourselves in the foot and then wondering why nothing ever gets done.
Right.
Because the most annoying thing is when people kick the can down the road, say, okay, we didn't get it done this time, but vote for us in 26. We promise we'll get it done this time. And that's the same game that a lot of people on the left play.
Right.
It's like, I promise it's in place because the left is going to roll back or to the right side.
Oh, so they actually record the grid. That's
I like that.
Favorable, cool.
Our parties have had.
We can do that
I think
now.
it's just-
Well, look at this. This space is very similar to ours now.
Yeah. Does Tim Pool, is this out of his house? Does he have an
He
actual building with a studio?
Yeah, he has a studio. He has a
Advances
property.
Okay.
I mean,
that they have mastered you believe.
Sure.
And that's because we allow a messianic party to come in and say, oh, okay.
I can't wait to watch that. So, who downvoted that? Jeez, what a bunch of. There's people who just don't like Tim Pool. I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised. Where is?
You would probably go to live video.
Yeah. All right, we're just going to keep it right here. Let's give him a let's go, Damani.
Is that what you said?
Yeah. So I got my green check mark. I didn't know I got a green check mark.
Was it under the dumb show?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's cool. And I got what's the red castle mean?
Maybe my Rumble peeps can tell me. I don't have a clue.
Somebody tell me what the red castle means. Oh, I want to do the dumb show. Here we go. Let's go, Damani.
What's your username?
At the dumb show.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. So, folks, share. Here we go.
Thank you, CJ.
That helped that criminal alien escape.
And we still need to donate, folks. Thank you, CJ.
It's been publicly released, which is surprising considering there's a criminal case going on. But I don't know how she's actually going to argue she's not guilty because she's on camera.
I want to go ahead and say
sneaking out.
We are streaming the Tim Pool podcast with our friend Damani Felder live. And listen, we're not trying to make a buck off Tim Pool. We're just trying to support our friend Damani. So we will give all monetization rights up to Tim Pool if he puts a copyright claim on. We're fine with that. Here it is.
AI or anything like that. So we'll talk about that. But there's a lot of news this weekend, my friends. I was not here. So if it's not new to you, it is new to me. And we'll talk about whatever. We've got that. We've got news about AI stuff. We have James O'Keefe is joining us to talk about what's going on with him. And I'll leave it to you, James, to say exactly what's going on because I don't want to speak out of turn. And so we'll talk about that plus a bunch of other stories. I guess it's kind of a slow news week. I know that there was the increase in far left terror that we've been looking at. There was the assassination of those embassy workers. So pretty scary stuff. But we'll just get into what we got right before this Memorial Weekend kicks off, and you guys go for your happy 3-day weekend. That's what we say now, right? Enjoy your 3-day weekend.
Thought we said respect the brave and, you know.
Oh, I was following Kamala.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I wasn't doing that.
No? All right. Before we get started, friends, we got a great sponsor for you. We got American Financing, my friends. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm not going to do a sponsor. So I got to find out what cameras he's using because I think our cameras are exceptional. They just need a little better lighting, and we're pretty excited about it. So we'll see how it goes. Damani's on. It looks like O'Keefe might be going first. That's a little disappointing because it was supposed to be Damani. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, and a slow news week. I don't believe it's a slow news week. I thought it was
maybe it's slow news week of what he'll cover. I've never watched Tim Pool, so I don't know.
No. Tim usually is fairly extensive in his coverage on things. So just a little confused at why Damani's not on first, but it is a Memorial Day weekend. I don't expect this to be a huge draw for our show, so to speak, but it should get some fairly good numbers for Tim Pool. But I know that he was in the green room. I would never put O'Keefe over Damani. Like O'Keefe, his track record for success has been horrible.
I don't even know who O'Keefe
well,
is.
he's okay. So it's a long story. I don't want to get into it, but essentially he's like Project Veritas investigator. The O'Keefe Media Group basically would whistle blow and blow the lids off things. Well, he's had some horrible, like, the government's going to kill me, I'm going in hiding, and then he releases Epstein information that basically has been out for 4 years. And you're kind of like, what a jackass. Remember when Trump said, I have a big announcement, he released those playing cards? Mm-hmm. That's the type of stuff O'Keefe is doing. And it's all clickbait, and it's given. I would never put O'Keefe over Damani, ever. And I'm not biased. Damani is he needs to let Damani talk. And Tim is a very smart guy, but Damani needs to talk. All right, here we go.
Here, but we do have another individual joining us to hang out. We got Damani Felder.
Sam, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Who are you? What do you do?
So I'm a digital content creator from the North Houston area. I started lending my voice to the political space almost 10 years ago now. I started to realize the seismic shift taking place in polite society, and I realized that I had an opportunity to actually lend my voice to the cause and do some good in the world. So I had no idea where to start, but I've been able to build up myself on several platforms, the Damani Felder on X, the Damani Felder on TikTok, Damani Bryant Felder on Facebook, and on YouTube. I have a small presence as well. But I'm just here. I'm a pursuer of truth. I'm grateful and honored to be here and looking forward to this conversation.
Right on. And of course, the man himself, James O'Keefe.
Hello, Tim.
Thanks for coming, man.
Great to be here. I've got a lot to say, mostly about the events of Epstein and
so awesome that he gets to at least sit next to O'Keefe.
Yeah, man. Been putting out these videos from inside the buildings at Epstein Island. This is the first time anyone's seen any of this stuff.
That's correct.
Ooh, it's getting crazy.
Getting crazy.
Well, we definitely got to talk about what's going on with Veritas stuff because I don't know how much you can say just yet, but you put out a video where the Veritas logo was behind you.
Yeah, I want to dive. I want to dive into all that on your show.
All right, we will. And Libby's hanging out.
I'm Libby Emmons. I'm here hanging out. Glad to be here with you guys.
We'll just get started with some light news before we get into the heavy stuff, I suppose. We have this story from the New York Post, which I found particularly interesting. Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan seen sneaking illegal migrant out of court after distracting ICE agents, new video shows. So this video, contentious, I suppose. Democrats are arguing that Trump's going after his political opponents. But here you go. Here's just, you can watch.
Same quote. Despite having been advised of the administrative warrant for the arrest of Flores Ruiz, Judge Dugan escorted Flores Ruiz and his counsel out of the, quote, jury door, not open to the public. In the video, it appears one federal agent hangs back in the hallway and followed Flores Ruiz onto an elevator.
Whoa. And then they pursued him, and he ran off. So, I don't know, I thought this was interesting because now we're officially in the we know for a fact she did it territory. Allegations at this point are now facts, I suppose.
She was indicted by a federal grand jury.
True. And that's why I'm saying I think the video is more important because an indictment is hey guys, innocent until proven guilty. I think video puts it beyond a reasonable doubt as far as I'm concerned. And we see her actually doing it. Her argument is she's immune from prosecution.
Yeah, that's not true when you break the law. I don't think you're immune from prosecution when you're a judge who's... Now, what's amazing about this, too, is he was in court on domestic violence charges, and the victims, waiting for their own justice, just sat there and watched as he was walked out of court through the jury door, non-public door. And then, like the video shows, you had an agent going down in the elevator with him, and then they actually had to engage in a foot chase. So she put law enforcement at danger as well.
What's going on in this country right now? Right. So with stories like this,
bide your time, D.
The lawlessness has reached the highest levels of state governments, the federal government with the Biden DOJ going after people. This is just another example of the lawlessness. James, you were targeted.
This is a great chance for D to talk about state and local government and the powers that we were talking about at the table.
FBI dropped the case in February, March or so. They gave me back my phones, but they released the affidavit, the probable cause. That was when you get a search warrant, you have to release the probable cause. They redacted every single word of the probable cause. It's a big black lines. And so, I think what's happening is institutions have become systemically corrupt at all levels. And people say, oh, call Cash, call Pam. It's like I'm supposed to call the number one person at the top of the entire pyramid to have any semblance of justice. That's how you know the system's really broken, when everyone's solution is to do that.
And I think people need to understand that even if Cash, Pam, or Dan are at the top, they're still looking down at this entire field of corruption.
Of bureaucracy and corruption.
Absolutely. And so the corruption's entrenched, and will utilize the bureaucracy to make sure that they don't have to move.
Correct. And even if you're an incredibly ethical and moral leader, you can't be on top of that entrenched bureaucracy and corruption. But this is great because you have her on video. This is what we talk about at O'Keefe Media Group. Incontrovertible evidence, not circumstantial evidence or hearsay. But
exculpatory, not incontrovertible. Right. Exculpatory.
So, I was obviously out for the past few days, but I was still following the news, of course. And then I'm riding in a car when I hear about these Israeli staffers who were shot and killed. And the story that's since come out with the details is substantially worse than the initial reporting, right? That the guy, as the young woman is crawling away to try and escape, he's shooting her. Then he reloads while screaming.
He reloads and keeps shooting her.
Yeah. And, to me, it feels like, just Jesse Waters called it Summer of Love 2.0 already because of the amount of violence we've already had. It's not even summer yet. And we've had, with the Tesla fire bombs, we had, to be fair, the assassination was last year, but still, since Trump got reelected, we've had street violence, protests, Tesla attacks. We've got now these two assassinations. We have members of the judiciary violating the law. If these institutions are systemically corrupt, like what happens in the next 10 years?
Well, this is the Democrat playbook, really, when you stop and think about it.
There you go.
They always say no one is above the law until they're not. When the shoe's on the
until
other
it's them?
foot. Yeah, exactly. Until it's them. And this is the Democrat playbook now. They are going to literally use the textbook definition of terrorism, which is the unlawful use of violence to intimidate or harass, typically for political gain. That's what they're doing. It's very easy to see, but it's ridiculous the hoops that they jump through to try to justify their behavior. And they will go to bat for these individuals. They went to bat for Luigi Mangione. They go to bat for so many of the worst in their own side, and then wonder why they begin to start hemorrhaging that public support.
Well, for now, it feels like, just for people who are wondering.
If you don't know, I love this guy.
Bill Maher, actually just hanging out for a couple hours. Flew out. It's nuts flying to LA. So it's one whole day to get there because you lose hours. I land, I go to bed. Then I wake up and we get ready, basically just do nothing for a few hours to get ready. And then in the evening we do the show, and then I immediately fly back and it's a whole another day. But, talking with him about these things, the one thing that he agreed with me, and I guess the episode's coming out on the weekend, I don't know when, is that the only, I've said this quite a bit, what makes you left or right is not what policies you want, but what you believe is true, to which he agreed. And he obviously thinks things that are not true, in my opinion. And I told him that. And, it was all right. It was cool. It wasn't super contentious. But the issue that I see is, as this hyperpolarization continues, you've got judges who believe they're justified in going after people because those people are evil. You've got, James, you are the example I use when it comes to media like Wikipedia in fabricating reality to attack someone on ideological grounds. And in 10 years, the boomers who are more chill, like we don't want to fight, and they're largely the people who have the view like, no one wants to fight. There's not going to be any conflicts.
Damani needs to go after right now the suspension of disbelief within the reality distortion field inside the leftist party. And that he needs to draw the lines of delineation between conservatives who are more grounded in reality versus the left, because he's saying the believing in truth, but the one is they believe things that aren't true, that aren't even real.
There wasn't that much gun violence. There were 2 teenagers shot in the autonomous zone. There was Aaron Danielson shot in Seattle by the Antifa guy, Michael Reinl. There was another gentleman who actually shot himself. There was David Dorn, who was killed. There were 31 people killed altogether in violence that summer. But we didn't see, other than Aaron Danielson, we didn't see like direct execution style shooting, I think. So that is a new development in the leftist playbook.
I think they're only going to get more and more bold. They're grasping at straws for something to rally around. They desperately need some sort of martyr to coalesce their base around. They had George Floyd in 2020, and they've had other individuals in the most recent years. But now it seems they're in an identity crisis mode. They need to find something to hang their hat on and do it quickly.
Do you think it's going to be this Palestinian thing?
It very well might be. It depends on how long it plays out, because obviously we know that attention spans are not what they used to be. So who knows if what we're talking about today
they're cheering for it
tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
They're cheering for it and calling for more. There's already several prominent thought leaders, whatever you want to call them, on the left who are saying that they're happy with what happened. And people should expect more. And they're saying as much as they can without telling someone to go and do it. Yep. So if the attitude is largely of these prominent individuals, you see what you get. Same thing they said after October 7th. And again, I don't care about, the U.S. should not be involved in whatever it is that Israel's involved in. I don't care about that. But people have lost their minds over this issue. If right now the left is clapping and cheering and celebrating this, and they are, not literally everybody, there's going to be a bunch of liberals and moderates who are like, we don't want anything to do with this. But the principal youth left, progressives, they're happy about it.
Well, and you had the New York Times come out with an article saying pro-Palestinian movement faces an uncertain path.
Get a question in, Damani. Get a question in, buddy.
That's their takeaway. That's what the New York Times is worried about. They're worried about the success of this movement after that. And you have another part of this movement, Unity of Fields, posted on X, and they're one of the groups that is involved with the campus protests, from what I understand. And they said the people actually paying the price are Palestinians facing genocide, et cetera, et cetera. Elias Rodriguez is now a political prisoner. And the people defending him the hardest, like us, are also facing repression. He literally went out into the street and executed people, one of whom is an American girl from Kansas. And it's in service to what, a dispute in a foreign nation about borders? Like, what does that have to do with anything? And now we have the Intifada globalized on the streets of our nation's capital. That has got to come to an end. We can't have that.
So look, the big issue, I suppose, culturally, the narrative that's come out is Hassan Piker is to blame for this. He's one of the most prominent leftist streamers, if not the most prominent. And you had on CNN, the guy from ADL saying, don't platform people like him. You've had other people now surfacing clips from Hassan where he's saying, as much as you can without telling people to actually do it. He's not going anywhere. He's going to keep saying what he wants to say. And I don't mean to single him out, but a lot of people on the left are, there was one guy, I guess, that Hassan was doing a show with, and they were debating. I'm not going to say his name, but he put out tweets saying he said something like, the only reason they keep doing this because you let them. And then he followed up with, it's easy to buy a gun in the United States. Right. That rhetoric is not going to stop. There are people who constantly say to me, oh, it's normal. Who cares? Nothing's going to happen.
Sorry. This is the minutia. You have leadership in the Liberal Party right now who are calling from the river to the sea. You have the squad who are leading this type of initiative. You're worried about the minutia. You're worried about the one-offs. You need to focus on where the message is coming from. And the message is being propagated by the state media and our politicians. This is the problem. The marching orders we're focused on. We should be focused on the people who are giving the marching orders.
Repercussions on their side. I mean, and we know what the intent is, but they will march right up to that line. James, I know you've seen this happen plenty of times yourself. they will get as close as they can. That's why James Comey had the picture that he posted, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to come out and say it, but I understand what the intent could be. And I think that's where we're at as a society, is the left is going to march up to that line, but then hope that someone is just radicalized enough to essentially do their dirty work for them.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Let's jump to this next story, though.
Good.
So we have this from the Washington Times, and I love how this is framed. This one's just for you, James. DOJ should be doing what James O'Keefe is doing regarding Jeffrey Epstein.
Frame that one. I mean, we are releasing, Pam Bondi to come out and say there are tens of thousands of little child videos. Did you see that?
Yeah. But that's only because you caught her.
We caught her, and then we reached out to her office for comment, and then she went out and said almost verbatim what we caught her saying in a restaurant. And
that was that there are tens of thousands of videos of Jeffrey Epstein with children.
Little child porn videos, apparently, and all this evidence. And as far as I know, the FBI, the DOJ hasn't released anything, right? They released some binders a few months back. I don't know what that was all about. But so O'Keefe Media has started releasing video and images of inside his library, inside his temple, some weird cryptic messages, some strange statues.
For years.
And
how were you able to get access to this? Can you say?
A source
it's on the internet.
Government.
Wow.
Oh,
because
my goodness.
You're a reporter.
Yeah.
You know how.
Give me a break. This shit has been out for years. This is the problem I have. I'm not here to bash on O'Keefe, but dude, I had that on my show before you even released it. I had it on over a year ago. You had a government source. Give me a break.
Works.
You went on Twitter and you hacked somebody else's account and just took their shit and threw O'Keefe Media Group on it.
What's interesting is that the people trust, us versus their own FBI.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've been covering your videos on the Epstein stuff at the Post Millennial, and readers are reading it up.
I got some heat from publishing this because people wanted names. They wanted something more severe, and I think we'll get there. Mm-hmm. But the sources, Tim, they don't trust the government, obviously. So it's a pretty cool headline. I like that headline. I just wanted to. I don't know if your producer or something.
This is why I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. We can listen to O'Keefe all day and Tim Pool. We don't get to listen to Damani. But I will never be on Tim Pool, and here's why. Because the question I would look at him and say, Jim, I have a question. 7 days ago, you were in hiding and in fear for your life, and now you're on one of the most openly known sets in America. Can you explain to me what happened in the last 7 days that's different, that your life is no longer in jeopardy? I'd ask him that question.
Everyone knows where Tim Pool's studio is.
I would be kicked off because I would go, wait a second, didn't you just say that your life was in danger and you had to go into hiding, and now you're on Tim Pool's podcast and you drove in here on one lane road from Virginia and from Dulles Airport? Explain to me. And you look pretty good for a person who's been in hiding. You have a pressed suit, you have a fresh haircut, you look good shave. If you're in hiding, it looks like you've never had it so good. And you know what? He probably look at me and go, what's your point, dude? What are you trying to say? What I'm trying to say is, why, if all of the stuff that you're releasing is so altruistic and all fresh and new, how is your life no longer in danger? So what you're saying is that the pictures that you released are brand new, and this is new evidence. The fact that Prince Andrew has been accused is new evidence. The Pam Bondi 10,000 videos, that's new evidence. And if it is, then why are you safer today than you were 7 days ago? So it's just drama, man. And you know what? This is the theater.
It's affidavit in the show, but
sorry.
This is how much I don't trust the FBI, okay? The probable cause, they redacted every single word of the reason they used to raid my newsroom. Every single word. And that's just a raid of a newsroom. I don't have a lot of faith. And you know what everyone's been asking me this week, by the way? I don't know how to answer this. Is what do you think of Cash and Bongino saying that Epstein didn't kill himself? Everyone's asked me that question.
Damani and I talked about it.
There is no there in the Trump assassination plot.
Well, that's another one.
Yeah.
But particularly Cash and Bongino. Do you have a thought on that? The reaction?
Come on, Damani.
I mean, I have plenty. I mean, one is that they're giving you the official FBI line because that's, as the FBI, all they can give you.
That's what they were given to say.
Not that someone told them to say it, but that they open up a file, it's got nothing in it, and so what's the official position of the FBI? I think in terms of investigating Epstein and potential criminals, the challenge that Dan and
Kimberly, it's James O'Keefe. And Damani and I talked about this at dinner, and I'm interested to see what he says.
within the FBI.
Because I know he has a take.
In the future. So they're between a rock and a hard place. They have to give you the generic government response, even if, so it's hard to know. Do they have a metaphorical gun to their heads blocking them from doing this? Or are they basically saying behind the scenes, if we went out and told people what we actually thought was going on, it could compromise our investigation?
Do you think that the FBI or the DOJ should release some materials? What do you think about that?
Yes. But the challenge is, if there are a bunch of co-conspirators, what can they release that would not give them a legal out? If they then say the federal government released information that was prejudicial and now I can't get a fair trial.
They can't interrupt an active investigation, so forth and so on.
I honestly don't think that's the case, though. That's devil's advocate. That's saying, like, why would... No, I think the reality is there are prominent princes and foreign corporate interests who are implicated by these documents. And here's one simple guess.
No, I don't think this show is scripted, because I just talked to somebody who's a part of the show. I just know that Damani and I talked about this, and he asked me this question specifically. That's all.
A couple Saudi princes went to Epstein Island. They're implicated in this, and they say, in our country, this is legal and normal. We didn't do anything wrong. In your country, the stock will drop. People will refuse to do business with us. They will demand sanctions. They will demand we sever ties. And then we're going to pump oil and destroy the petrodollar.
Right. And Trump just had that great Middle East trip where he got an 11-point bounce in the polls from that as well.
So, right, massive. What if Trump goes to them and says, if we release the Epstein stuff, these nations
This is what I said.
Go against us. And it's going to destroy these trade deals.
This is what I said.
What do you do?
I don't think the people of this country are going to stop talking about this. This has been 5-6 years.
Damani, steal my thought and just say it.
I can ask this question all day, every day. In the Panera Bread close to your studio, guy, hey, James O'Keefe, what'd you think about Dan Bongino and Cash? Literally 2 hours ago, near your facility here. I think it's up to the citizens, the citizen journalists, people like yourself as well, to do the reporting. We have a role to play, right? The fourth estate, as they say, to bring the information forward. But anyways, yes, Epstein's Island, very strange.
James, in several years ago, you got that video of the ABC reporter saying that we had the Epstein story, we had it, and that ABC shut it down.
Amy Robach, yes.
Amy Robach. And that was, I believe that was when you were with Veritas.
It was 2019, yes.
And then you had, wow, I can't believe it's been 6 years since then. Yep. It's crazy. I just got to say, it's now been, let's just be fair, 4 months. So we got to give them time, I suppose. I don't feel good about what Cash and Dan are saying.
What do you think the probability if Kamala Harris was the president of the United States that someone like me would have been indicted by now?
2 seconds. Two seconds.
What's the over-under? Now the devil advocate to that is it takes time to build a case. We don't want fake raids. We don't want, but it does raise questions. No one's held accountable for anything. I'm held accountable. I've been arrested, raided, sued, audited. I'm held accountable, and I'm a reporter. So why isn't anybody held accountable for anything?
Well, to be fair, I don't think they're holding you to account.
What's that?
They're not holding you accountable.
The powers that be.
They're not holding you accountable. They're attacking you.
Well, there's an overlap because when they raided me, they leaked all my messages to various.
The idea that you're being held accountable would imply that you did something.
Yeah, this is the problem, and this is what I tried to tell D is that he had to ask more questions because you see how Keefe completely controls the conversation by asking questions. That gets Tim Pool off. If D would have done this, D would be the focus of attention. Holding Tim Pool's attention is very simple. You ask him questions, and then he will ask you questions because he believes that you respect his opinion. If he doesn't feel that from D, he's not going to call on him. And it's okay. I mean, D is in the big time now. This is not a small panel, and he's doing just fine. He's biding his time. He's picking his fight. He's doing fine.
You start losing your mind, and I hope that we're wrong about that. I hope that there is justice. I think the people of this country have no faith in the system. And I've been accused of things I haven't done, Tim. It's like hell on earth when you're falsely accused of a felony.
God, this guy.
I mean, with January 6th, people were falsely accused. At least there was a colorable crime. In my case with the diary, it was like, are you kidding me?
Are you talking about something like the other day, the trial The trial tax.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like what they were trying to put James through.
Well,
like force you into a trial.
No,
right?
the trial tax is if someone commits a crime, the prosecutors say, we want you to take a plea bargain and go away. If you don't, we will seek a greater penalty.
I see. Okay.
And it's called the trial tax, meaning you pay more if you ask for a jury trial. The argument they give is you clearly are not remorseful for your crime, so you need greater punishment.
Right.
Gotcha.
But these, I'm going to say it first, and I'm curious what you guys think. I do not believe Dan and Cash will arrest any of the corrupt Democrats or officials who attacked Trump.
Why not?
I think it's too politically terrifying. It's scary. It's very scary.
So they're scared.
Yeah.
Scared of what?
You know, it's fascinating because Dan gave up so much for this position that it's hard to believe that he, of all people, would be scared. But I think there is a beast for whose belly we do not know what is inside of. And it's easy to say on the outside, there's nothing to fear. But I don't know, man.
I'm curious
Answer
what it
the
is
question.
That they fear. That's an interesting point.
There's a really easy one. A guy shows up to your office with a picture of your daughter and a man standing behind her and says, you will do nothing to upset us.
Interesting.
And then they just go, uh-oh, what do I do?
Come on.
And they were like, we have more power than you could imagine. You will not put us in prison. You will not come after us. And it could be some fat bureaucrat being like, we will, like, you have seen what we've tried to do. What do you think we're capable of doing that you are not?
Do you think they put everyone in a SCIF, a secure compartmentalized information facility, and when they get in the office up there and they show the film of the Zapruder, JFK getting shot, and they say, you better do what we say.
I think it's, the way I've explained it is Trump gets elected and then they're like, Mr. President, you have a 1 o'clock meeting with, CIA. And he's like, okay. The guy walks in and goes, Mr. President, it's a pleasure to meet you. And he pulls out a manila folder. It's flat. And he opens it up with a single picture of JFK and slides it across the table and says, thank you for your time, and walks out.
Something like that.
What is this, a movie?
I feel like there's so much frustration from a lot of people on the right because we've known a lot of information for quite some time now. We were talking about a news story from 6 years ago. And the fear is the longer this clock is allowed to run out, the greater the likelihood that individuals will not see the justice meted out against them that they should. And I think that's why people are so pent up now because, okay, we have a essentially second chance with Trump's second term. But then what happens in the aftermath? What happens in 2026 if we lose the House or the Senate? And that's why we have to do things now. And that's why people are demanding we want answers and we want names as quickly as possible.
Get them.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think right now we're in the administrative battle. And Trump's goal is we have to make sure we win. Only thing that matters is we hold this power for the next X amount of years. If we lose in the midterms, we can't do anything. If they launch investigations today, then they lose in 2028. Those investigations are gone. Pardons are issued, overturned. And with the seat of power, they'll claim Trump fabricated evidence and it was all fake and then start arresting people on the right. The most important thing then is going to be gutting Doge, cutting these schemes to funnel money to various political groups, making sure deporting illegal immigrants.
No, the number one focus will be a war with Iran. See, Tim Pool and geopolitics, this is where I wish I was on the show. The war with Iran is the number one focus for the Democrats, hands down.
Get rid of their money funnel through these, Lee Zeldin found these EPA slush funds and also USAID, and then have the Doge cuts go through. This secures the power. Then in a few years, you go after the corruption when your seat is secured.
USAID, Marco Rubio testified before the Senate the other day and said that 12 cents of every dollar spent by USAID actually went to the intended recipients. 12 cents on the dollar.
Of course, it's all CIA front.
Wow.
That's craziness.
I think they were largely using that in the EPA slush fund to help get Democrats elected.
Plus the U.S. Institutes for Peace, they were taking their whatever they had left over in their budget and putting it into an account just for themselves, and they had $13 million of taxpayer money in that account, and they were using it for flights and whatever else they felt like spending it on.
So people that join these agencies and go to D.C., do they really? Most of them, I mean, the vast majority of them don't seem to care about the mission. They just want to have power and
a sinecure.
Money.
I mean, these jobs, it's hard to get fired. Look, I mean, as soon as the government tries to fire you, you bring it to a judge and the judge is like, give this guy his job back. You can just have this job, get your raises, work from home, do whatever, take trips on the taxpayer dime, and your job is protected. You know, these government unions they have a stronghold as well.
They put the judges in for this purpose.
That's right. That's what they did.
They have created an entrenched bureaucracy.
Yeah, Biden appointed
but people in D.C., they
judges.
just want power, most of them, right?
Either or they just want to be left alone.
So doing the right thing often is anathema or runs contrary. Like, I'm really interested in your point about fear. What are they afraid of?
Dan Bongino?
Like, we need Dan Bongino or Kash Patel to be whistleblowers. They need to tell the absolute truth, don't they?
Well, I think, I don't think Kash has kids.
I don't know.
He might, does he?
I'm not sure.
I know Dan does, doesn't he?
I think
this is the easiest path to.
I think he has a daughter. Yeah.
The easiest path. It's just like that book, Tales of an Economic Hitman. They go to countries and say, "We'll make you rich beyond your wildest dreams." The leader says, "Not interested." They say, "Okay." Then they say, "We're going to fund your opposition." He blocks them and say, "Okay, you still win. We're going to come and get you." And then they go in for the assassinations. For an individual, they'll come to you and say, "We'll make you rich beyond your wildest dreams." You say no. Then they say, "Okay, we're going to censor you and get you banned. If not, your daughter dies."
I've got another one for you. The FBI, arrests someone on my team and says, "Please lie about James O'Keefe or you won't see your children for 10 years.
That's right.
Now, most 99.999% of people will lie to people think the devil does this thing that it does.
Liv, your thoughts on this? Honestly.
Yeah, I don't like the James O'Keefe guy. He likes to steal the spotlight. He wants to be the center of attention. He's interrupting the girl. He's showing that he has no respect for her. And he's trying to monopolize all of Tim's time and trying to take over the show. And yeah, my first impression of him, not a huge fan. Other than that, Damani's doing a great job, but I think the lady's purse on the desk in the shot's kind of trashy.
Yeah.
Put your purse on the ground.
Yeah.
I totally get that. I'd like to see what his set looks like. I want to see how their table is.
Well,
how it's set up. It's a big room, so they're all.
It's a 4x, so ours will be a single line, but they can all look at each other. I just. The problem I have here is that this is all just speculation and pontification. There's nothing. You sit here and talk about exculpatory evidence, and James O'Keefe talks about empirical evidence, and then literally speculates on why Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. How about this? How about, is it possible that they've reviewed the records and seen the records, and what they're saying is actually true? What if?
I think people want so bad
yes,
for it to be this conspiracy theory that it was Hillary to protect Bill, and they want it so bad that even if the truth is staring them in the face, they're still going to believe the lie.
Yeah,
because that's what they want to hear.
Right. Well, they've been told, and Kash and Dan all have said these things and emphatically stated it in 2023, and now they're in the position they're saying no, and they're saying they got to him. They got to him. It can't possibly be
that they actually saw real evidence.
That they actually saw the absence of evidence, because you can't create evidence just because you want to. You can't create evidence just because you said. I'm not saying the Democrats aren't guilty. What I'm saying is that these people have been literally trained generationally by other politicians on how to cheat the system. And they don't leave paper trails. Joe Biden had how many shell companies? Just that alone for any other business would be a red flag that would get them investigated. These people are untouchable because the people who are involved and responsible for doing the touching are part of the inmate system. You're expecting the prison to run itself, and that's not the way it works. You have to have some semblance of law. So they don't need to go ahead and threaten Dan Bongino's children. They need to walk in here and say, if you do this, we have this evidence that we will go ahead and burn another 75 people on your side, and then you lose the House. Then you lose the Senate. You don't need to threaten kids. You threaten the political careers of the people who are on your side, of the administration of Donald Trump. So they go back to Trump and say, listen, if we do this, we have 3 people who we want to go ahead and hold in contempt. We want to go ahead and open up indictments on. And those 3 people have dirt on these 17 people in the House. And if we pull one thread, the whole fucking thing's going to fall apart. You don't need to threaten kids and do a political assassinations. This is all Hollywood. This is all speculation and nonsense. And this is why I can't go. And poor Damani. Damani wants to have an intellectual conversation. Damani wants to solve problems. Damani wants to be a thought leader in this room. And you can't, because these guys are just literally blowing each other. It's really frustrating.
See, I don't care who killed Epstein. I could really give a shit about that. The man deserved to die.
Wait. He's talking.
Okay.
You can't say that, Liv. You're going to get us banned.
Okay.
You can't say it.
Okay.
This stuff
Sorry.
was happening to J6ers too.
Absolutely.
They were just normal people.
Normal people.
Well, it's funny. I was talking to some friends of mine who are here local to the area, like Matt and Olivia, their names, they run their own show, like Don't Unfriend Me. And one of the things that they do is they talk to their local community. And they say, what do you think about the Dan Bongino, Cash Patel situation? We were talking about this earlier today at lunch. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about, we don't know what we don't know. Right. People are tired of not knowing. If this is what the DOJ is going to do, if this is their idea of transparency, then I'm sorry, but we are at an impasse as far as what the definition of transparency actually is.
Right.
We, the American people, we actually demand answers and real transparency. It's not that hard to deliver.
So again, when people say, or if I say, I do not believe that Dan Bongino, Cash Patel, or Pam Bondi are actually going to arrest the corrupt Democrats who are, say, going after Trump's lawyers, or falsely prosecuted.
That was nice of him, huh?
And they say, why do you think that? I just point to James O'Keefe.
That's all you got. That's exactly why I shared. I speak a lot about my personal experiences because it's factual. I mean, Tim, that's the evidence right there. For Epstein, they can't even give you I just want to repeat myself. I apologize. I'm being repetitive. They can't even unredact one word of the probable cause for their illegal raid of my newsroom.
To be fair, it would be funny if of and the were unredacted. It's the only thing in it.
I mean, I'm going to sue the Department of Justice, so you know. I'm going to go to the Article 3 judge. That's the federal judge. I have to go through this whole process, pay lawyers $1,000 an hour. You know who wins in all this, everyone?
Yeah, the lawyers.
Lawyers.
Yeah.
The lawyers win because actually the more we lose, the January 6th people, everyone, the more the pleadings, the filings, the more they win because they get paid $1,000 an hour. It's a kleptocracy. It's a disgrace. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little black-pilled more so than when I first met you.
To be fair, this is just after Trump got in. So this is before Cash and Dan.
This is in February. This is after Trump got in.
This is February 6th.
This is a Trump
they weren't assigned yet.
Interim United States Attorney in the Southern District of New York.
So
but they weren't assigned yet.
Maybe Cash and Dan will actually be like, no, this is BS. Let's get it unredacted.
But how much time does that take? I mean, under the Constitution, I forget the Bill of Rights, aren't you afforded a speedy trial and all that jazz? I mean, how much time does it take?
Yeah, but that's only in a criminal trial for you.
What's that?
I suppose this was a criminal matter.
This is a criminal proceeding.
Yeah.
But this goes back to the concept of there being no consequence as of right now for this blatant lawfare, for this partisanship when it comes to these things. I mean, just prime example, swatting has become this new big thing that a lot of people will do to, conservative individuals.
Right.
I myself, my wife and I, we were living in our home, and next thing you know, this is literally Christmas night in 2023. We have literally a 3-week-old baby, our baby girl. And if y'all both are watching, I love you very much. But we had a knock on the door, and someone had swatted our house because they know what I do, and I am nowhere near the level that Tim, you, or James are. But it happens all the time. But that only happens because there is no fear of consequence.
Correct.
And whenever you have that sort of blatant two-tier justice system, whatever you want to call it, people are going to continue to engage in this behavior because there's never any fear of any sort of retribution whatsoever, even when that retribution is justified.
I mean, my fear is that...
Let me show you something that Damani just did that was masterful. Remember I told you he needs to ask questions, but he also needs to demonstrate deference. One thing I did, and I'm not saying I'm taking credit for this, he did this himself, but I told him is that you have to demonstrate respect to both of, just to Tim, and show him that you understand his plight, and then you will gain acceptance. Well, he just did that with O'Keefe when he said, well, I'm nowhere near the stature of you, Tim. That gives O'Keefe, gave him a moment to agree with him, because everything that Damani has said, O'Keefe has not even looked at Damani. But once he showed a little deference, he's actually like, oh yeah, we understand, and aligned with him. and gave him more time to talk. That is what Damani needs to learn, is how to inflate the egos of the people who are egomaniacs. And it's a very difficult thing to do. But if you want to get to the real substance of O'Keefe and Tim Pool, Damani needs to continue that type of interjection to gain their favor. And when they give up that power, it will make Damani just as impactful as the other two. It's not mic time. It's what you do with it. And what he did right there was perfect.
In the DOJ, we have 3 people: Cash, Dan, and Pam. And we're asking them to deal with a problem of tens of thousands. Maybe it's not possible.
I don't know.
I mean, let's take a look at the initial Epstein stuff, right? If we're to believe everything they've said, Pam Bondi released this letter where she was like, I instructed the FBI to release the Epstein files, and they did not do it. And then because of whistleblower, I found out New York was withholding information on this. The question then is, why did we only find out about the videos they have because of an undercover video from James O'Keefe? Why wasn't she telling the public?
What did you think about that video, Tim? I took some heat for publishing that. I don't dislike or like her. It's not about what I think about.
It's because it's old news.
You felt I should have published that.
Yeah,
correct?
absolutely. I thought I think it's tremendously amazing journalism. I think it shows your integrity. You're not a partisan actor who's going to say, I give free tickets for the right or for the Trump administration.
Right.
You said, we want the truth on Epstein, and we're going to investigate it regardless of who's in charge.
So we did her a little bit of a favor, I suppose, by sending the quote. Journalistically, I actually sent the full quote of what she said in that.
Folks, while he's talking, just want to let you know, to goal, we're 129.64. Olivia has to jump out here and go pick up my son in a minute. 17 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. We're looking to hit 300. If you have not had a chance to donate, please do so. We want to try to bring you this type of coverage. And remember, this is 100% Tim Pool's podcast. If they hit copyright strike on this, they will absolutely release it. But we want to have our good friend Damani on, who just gave us a shout out. It was pretty awesome. So continue to listen. I'll stay here until Olivia gets home. Enjoy. But if you haven't had a chance to donate, please do. We would love to hit our goal going into the weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Thank you.
I think it's fine.
I'll be back.
I had some reporters telling, you're.
I mean,
react any to someone happened to be in that restaurant. Someone happened to be in general,
which is literally how.
So it's legal, so it's different. But yeah, people published that. But then when she went on the White House lawn and said it, we had to rewrite the whole story. You know, obviously.
For me, I just published on the spot.
You know, that's an interesting point. That's the criticism I got by giving her the quote. Arguably, I did damage to the story. You know, it's a weird thing. You're obligated to reach out for comment. On the other hand, you're giving the subject a heads up,
but
so they can do damage control.
I think it's fine. The only reason to withhold the information from Bondi or from the subject is to damage them in your story.
I wasn't trying to do that.
Exactly. Which is why I'm saying you did the right thing by saying, we have the story, we'd like a comment. That's the appropriate ethical thing to do.
That's the thing you're supposed to do.
Then when she came out and said, here's a thing that's true, maybe it's bad for your bottom line because you didn't get credit for it, but the story came out. She was forced to admit it. That's what journalism is supposed to do.
She did say there's tens of thousands of videos, and we go back.
This is what the corporate press does. They say, hey, we've got this story about James O'Keefe. Should we get a comment from him? No, because then we'll have to run it. He may give us information, which takes away our credibility when we defame him. If we know for a fact it's not true, he can sue us. Don't tell him we're doing it because we want to maximize the story and our bottom line. We want to make money off the story. So let's say they have a story where they're like, Libby stole a pie off a windowsill from an old lady. And then
that's horrible.
An ethical journalist says, Libby, a source has come to us saying that they are seeking criminal charges against you for stealing a pie off their windowsill. And then you respond with a video showing you looking at the windowsill and a different person grabs it and run. And you go, stop that man. He stole it. They now can't run the story. Mm-hmm. They can try to weasel it out, but now they know for a fact it's not true.
Right.
So they'd rather just say, don't get a comment from Libby accusing her of malfeasance gets us more clicks and we can claim plausible deniability because we had no idea.
Right.
Correct.
So long story short, James, you did the right thing.
Well,
and the story got out, and it's good that we know this now, and it puts more pressure on them, and it's good that we know what happened behind the scenes.
We live in a very political, polarized society, and I'm Tim, the older I get, the more I'm like, you know what? I just want to tell the truth. I'm not. It sounds like a cliche, but I'm not trying to gore someone's ox or help or hurt. I just want the truth. It was remarkable just how polarized we are. Hyper political. Everyone thinks in terms of tribes and whose side they're on.
It's getting worse.
Really, journalism has stopped being just about the non-biased dissemination of the facts. And it's more about a strategic sort of chess game. It's like, if I do this, someone else is going to do that. I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes from, particularly, individuals who are just sitting there at home right now, watching the stream. They want answers, but to them it feels like I have to wait for this to get that. And how long do I have to wait to get the answers that I desperately want to uncover?
The issue of the tribalism is that it already happened, and it's in the younger generations. It happened. There is very little red pilling or waking woke or whatever. So a lot of people tend to look at our society as a static system when it's actually an emergent system. So I'd say, imagine a line. In the middle of it is you, and your lifespan is, a tiny piece of it. There's a wave that will come by, lift you up. Here's the peak of your existence and your career, and then you die, and that wave continues. But this means the younger generation, their politics are entrenched in them at a young age. Rarely do people get red-pilled or have awakenings.
I completely disagree.
And so most people, like I said, view the system as a static system where we're constantly trying to convince the other side of why they're right or wrong. No. You're trying to
red-pilled, I hope Damani hits this, red-pilled this whole notion that your entire conceptualization of your ideology is on display and can flip. This is why I didn't trust Dave Rubin. This is why I did not trust Tulsi Gabbard. What he's saying is being completely flipping your ideology on all aspects to a 180 is very rare. That's true. But you can flip your ideology and your perception of topics all the time. If one thing takes place, that is being open-minded, and we are training children to be closed-minded, guarded, and skeptical of everything that is something that's different than what they think. That is not being red-pilled. That is just basic logic and dissemination. That's what Damani was saying. I completely, vehemently disagree with what Tim Pool just said.
Towards Jesus.
And I think Damani does too. We're going to find out.
However, it's largely among males, and the females are not. But then the intent of the political climate. 20 years from now, there will be nothing but hyperpolarization.
Really?
Here's the question.
To be fair, there is
Good.
a couple. There's arguments to either side.
Let
One
your
is
guest
that
talk, dude.
Gen Z is moving towards Jesus and conservatism. However, it's largely among males, and the females are not. But then the argument I've made is that women, because of their limited time for reproduction, will eventually cave to the demands of men because men don't have those limitations. But there is also that liberals don't have kids. So it may be that this polarization is a blip in the system. And because they don't have children in 20 or 30 years, it's just going to be an overwhelmingly conservative country.
Well, my question that I feel like I would have is, while there might not be necessarily the red pilling that many of us are used to or experienced ourselves at some point in time, is there something to be said for the fact that the younger generations are going to be inherently countercultural, that they are going to rebel against whatever they are told is the proper way to think?
I don't think that's true. I think that was fabricated by
bullshit.
You think counterculture was a communist fabrication?
I think it does happen for various reasons throughout history. I believe this current iteration was largely communist exploitation. And I mean that quite literally. We were in the Cold War, and it is a fact. I mean, if you look at...
Which generation are you talking about?
I'm forgetting the guy's name now. Remember that Russian guy who came and did that speech about...
Solzhenitsyn?
No. Well, he was great too, but there's a guy who's in an interview, and everybody shares it in super chats.
Oh, yes. I know what you're talking
Surge.
No.
The propaganda from the 80s.
Yeah.
Was his name.
Where he said that they're going to come for your institutions, your schools, and they're going to,
I don't remember either.
I don't know.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
You just can't remember the guy's name.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait for the chat because 800 people are going to...
Someone's going to say it.
Yeah. But what I think happens is, I've heard this quite a bit from Yuri Bezmenov.
Yep, it is.
Thank you, chat. This is the only reason the show works.
Damani had a
chat
Damani had a
like
50-50, Sergey or Yuri. The two most popular names in Russian.
Now I forgot what I was talking about. What were we talking about?
You were actually counteracting what Damani said, which is actually true.
So for hundreds of years in this country, we didn't have a counterculture. You lived the way your grandparents lived. You would die if you didn't farm. There were some people who were banditos and they would eschew society, but most people for hundreds of years would wake up, tend to the chickens, tend to the crops, go to sleep.
But that's from a lack of
wake
options.
Up,
that's
church day. Go to church, hang out with the people.
No, that's
put on a nice hat.
No, I disagree.
Go home.
I disagree.
This idea of rebellion wasn't a thing. I believe the idea of rebellion was intentionally injected into our culture through pop culture for the purpose.
Okay. We ran an entire revolution that was done by peasants, okay? By a non-sanctioned congressional army of militia, okay? We mass exodus from England because the people who were put here on this continent were considered to be not pro forma English enough. A lot of the colonization out here were the people that England found to be the troublemakers. Rebellion has been throughout our history. And it doesn't matter whether it's the Christians and the Romans. It doesn't matter whether it was the Saxons and the Christians. It doesn't matter what you say. There's always been open rebellion. There's always been open women who have fought the system, whether it's Annie Oakley or Joan of Arc, and you can go throughout history. The saying that there wasn't a counterculture that existed because people followed communal thought and went to church and farmed and sowed the land. That's because of the lack of options. What did you want to do? Work at a Starbucks? You wanted to become a lawyer? You wanted them to become a doctor? You wanted them to become a snake oil salesman? The options now are limitless, and you can literally be anything you want is what you're told. But to say that that is the reason, because of hundreds of years, people followed the same societal norms, the reason they did is because they didn't have a choice to do anything else. So it's hard to create originality, and it's hard to create people off the beaten path when literally there is no other path to be blazed. This is why women throughout history, or blacks who were absolutely not following the normal patterns of the communal society, are marked throughout history for an eternity. And whether it be a novelist like Mark Twain, or it's Frederick Douglass, or Annie Oakley, or Maya Angelou, it doesn't matter. It's because these people did not follow the path of conformity. And they were blaze setters. They were trend setters. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't counterculture, because there's always been a counterculture. Otherwise, we wouldn't have fought a civil fucking war over this. There wouldn't have been the American Revolution. There wouldn't have been the Spanish-Mexican or the Spanish-American War. We wouldn't have these things if there wasn't a counterculture in our country. So I disagree with him vehemently. Again. Sorry, I know I'm not on the show, but it just pisses me off.
Wow. Why are they voting for Trump more? What convinced them to do it? Nothing. It's that conservatives have babies and they give their values to those kids. When those kids turned 18, they voted and you noticed. But those kids always had those values. There are some that deviate and they can go either way. And this is what I'm saying. The left was intentionally going into institutions to tell kids to defy your parents.
Sure. I mean, and it goes back to kindergarten.
Okay, I'm final point. God, Damani, fucking hit it. Tim, if what you're saying is that a counterculture doesn't exist, then the MAGA movement would never have been, because then conservatism would still be following the grand old party and the GOP and the neoconservatives. So if you're saying, and the younger generation is one of the reasons why Donald Trump won this election. So if you're going to sit here and say that counterculturalism doesn't exist, then Reagan wouldn't have been the next president. Because Reagan was completely different than what the Republican conservatives of the time, which were Christian nationalism, he was very different than that. He was a big tax spender. He wanted to get involved in other countries and bring democracy and freedom and hope to the rest of the world. He pontificated and espoused that America was the nation on the shining hill. They were their entire process of our republic was emblematic of success, and that everyone should follow it, including the Russians, who did, and that almost destroyed their country. Because the one thing is that when you have oligarchs run a country, it doesn't matter what governmental system you put into place or what economy, they will take advantage of the people and treat them as they always do, as peasants. To sit here and say that people don't red pill and change their minds, then this is no more accurate than when it comes to an entire generation of older, middle age, and young people moving to the MAGA movement. I completely just disavow everything Tim Pool just said.
I mean, you see that, first they make you very comfortable with education and it's beautiful, bright colors, and they bring you in and they tap into your creativity and they say, come here, trust us. Don't trust your stupid parents.
Well, I was homeschooled for 12 years, and I wonder do you think that we are possibly understating the degree to which social validation has become so sacrosanct to many in the younger generation? What I mean by that is it might not be a red pill or rebellion. It might be when you grow up and you go off to college, and then you are inundated with all of this desire for social validation. Yeah. That is what influences you to make an ideological shift, not necessarily rebelling, but craving that social validation that comes from your peer group at that young impressionable age.
I do think so. I think that's
well, then that's counterintuitive to what you just said.
Universities exploit that intentionally, and they want to create these pressure systems that force you to adhere to the cult. And that's largely what woke is.
I remember when I was in high school, I was sort of like punk rock and whatever. And I listened to like all kind of punk rocky type stuff. And then when I went
like
to college,
her, by the way.
I visited the college that I visited the college after I had already said that I would go there. Like after I'd already, they send you your letter and you reply. And everybody looked like I did. And I was like, oh no, this is not going to work. I was like getting rid of all these clothes. I'm just going to wear white button downs, totally normal. I undyed my hair. I put it back to its normal color, like everything. And I showed up looking preppy among a sea of punk rock kids.
Well, punk rock became conformist,
It certainly did. It's like if all of the
you won't let Damani talk.
All of the cool girls are wearing fishnets and mini skirts, like I'm not. This
is an epidemic of people who
that mentality really has seeped into universities to such a large degree. I went to Texas A&M University, graduated in 2014. Even back then, at a conservative school like that, you saw a lot of that left-leaning indoctrination start to seep in to the student population. Mm-hmm. And that happened back then.
Even at Texas A&M.
At Texas A&M University, Yep. And even now, Texas A&M University, they've had a fair degree of scandals associated therewith. But I feel that is at that point in my life, I was homeschooled for 12 years. I go to A&M, and then all of a sudden, I'm starting to hear this other stuff. And I'm grateful my parents raised me with enough wherewithal to not be so pusillanimous that I would just say, I'm just going to say whatever's going to get me a pat
He used
on the back.
pusillanimous.
I'm willing to be
fucking love this guy.
But I've seen others even in the homeschool community where they were raised by good, strong parents. But then they so craved, they wanted to throw off that mentality. Oh, homeschoolers are weird. Homeschoolers aren't cool or fun to be around. That they
neither were the public school kids.
Yeah. No, but that's I feel like that's the mentality is like people crave that validation, and the social media has become so poisonous because people ascribe a sense of self or sense of value to how many likes they get, which causes them to compromise their own values in pursuit of that fleeting dopamine hit that comes when you get a couple likes on a video.
And it's a web. It's an addiction machine where, I've talked about how my daughter will not have access to this stuff, but who knows in 13 years what technology will exist beyond this current iteration of social media. But just like the big tech CEOs who don't let their children have cell phones, I will do the same thing. Here's the issue. She goes to a social setting environment. Maybe it's chess club. Maybe it's some like punk. Maybe she's playing in a band and she wants to, there's like a talent show or something. All the other kids are going to have phones and they're going to be like, what do you mean you're not on Flim Flam? Mm-hmm. Like I get all these likes and then she's going to be like, Mom, Dad, why don't I have a phone? How come I'm on Flim Flam? All the other kids do. And we're going to say, because it's bad for you, it'll rot your brain. And I know exactly what I thought when my parents told me that.
But then she's going to be grateful. I mean, she's eventually going to grow up and be like,
no, that's not the answer you give to your child. You don't say because it's going to rot your brain, because it's not going to rot her brain. If you've instilled the practices of articulation and deductive reasoning and logical conclusion, and you've trained your child to be a free thinker, it's like any influence in her life that you are not able to protect her from. You can't protect your child from rape. Only she can do that. You can't protect your child from going bankrupt. You can't protect your child from Satan. You can't protect your child from getting pregnant. You can't protect her from social media or watching a bad movie or cursing. There comes a time where you have to allow your child and trust them enough that through your rearment and your investment into their future, that you have given them the tools to protect them from all the things that can harm them, and still, even after that, may not be prepared for what they're going to face. So instead of hiding my child away from marijuana or hiding her away from sex or hiding her away from anything that I don't want her to consume, my job is to slowly increase the drip of information so she can consume it one at a time and process it. My daughter has a phone, and I trust her implicitly on it. And the reason why is because I have monitored and I have assured that the things that I tell her are not going to rot her brain, but put her in danger in the future or possibly in the present. Those are the things that make her a responsible adult. And I believe we are setting children up for failure because we tell them things and lie to them and con them into doing something because it is some sort of false dichotomy of right and wrong, when truly it can be a productive form of influence in their life. Sex can be good. Some drugs can be good. Some alcohol is okay. It's okay to listen to certain music. But moderation is the key to life. And if you have them refrain and abstain, what you get is a child who will rebel when they get freedom and not understand the limitations of their own consumption. That is a topic.
My parents were so strict. They never even let me have a Flim Flam account, but she's going to wear it as a badge of pride.
Well, I think I'm confident in my and Allison's ability to actually, convey this information to our child. So I'm confident. It is fascinating to me how many people are so lacking in the confidence to raise their kids that they say things like, nope, you're wrong. It'll never happen.
You
won't be able to teach your child. No, she won't do what you want. It's not going to happen. And I'm like, yeah, I think that's wrong. I think people have been have become so cynical and jaded from the system that they genuinely believe they can't convey beliefs, ideas to their kids. I know people who they have their kids watch these psychotic videos on YouTube.
Psychotic?
All of the kids' content is psychotic. All of it.
There's no reason to show your kids that.
No. I'm not talking about the Elsagate stuff. I'm talking about all kids' content on YouTube.
Coco Melon, all of that.
All of it.
Yeah, no, there's no reason to ever show your kids that stuff.
There's that one woman, I forgot her name, and she's
Rachel?
She's going full political.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She's going political to your children. Yeah. What people don't understand is I had one person say, well, my kid just loves it so much. And I said, how do they know it exists?
Yeah,
right, why did you show it to them? One of the best pieces of parenting advice I ever got was from two of my friends in Brooklyn who said, after my son was born, they were like, never play him kids' music.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh.
It's true.
I won't.
It's
That's
true.
really good. He was like, they were just play him stuff you like. And that way he'll grow up to have good taste. And my son has the best musical taste now, It's actually eclectic. It's interesting. I take him to concerts. We both like it.
The thing is, a child isn't going to know something that you don't expose them to.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And
that's not true.
There's actually tons of literature on this.
That
Do
is
not
not
treat
true.
children like children. And that's one of the worst things we've done as a society.
Oh, I agree with that.
Because you infantilize your child and then they never know how to grow up. Yeah, it's terrible.
But you just said you want to spoon feed your child and pretend that something doesn't exist and not have the conversation about content on YouTube. Is that like not having a conversation about sex and then they come back and they're knocked up? It's like not having a conversation about marijuana and they go ahead and use it as a gateway and they get into harder drugs. You can't pretend something doesn't exist because ultimately there'll be a time where you will not be there and that child will have to face that troubling question. Keeping them ignorant to something is the ultimate disease. It's not the cure. I like Tim Pool, but he contradicts himself too much. He talks out of both sides of his mouth. You just said you want to keep your kids ignorant to all of this stuff, not watch YouTube videos, not give them a phone, tell them that it's going to rot their brain and kill them and they're going to be taken over by the devil like our parents did with D&D. And what's the first thing we did? We went out and played D&D to see if we were going to get taken over by the devil or touched a Ouija board. Why? Because the human curiosity is to go ahead and push boundaries. And as we are trying to limit the amount of influence that they intake, they are trying to expand it. And it is two very, very strong forces in universe. And as we know, two opposing forces in physics, we know what happens. Something's going to have to give. So when he says this, I'm not trying to argue with everything Tim Pool says, but it's very difficult to follow his line of thinking when he's saying, do as I say is not as I do. It doesn't make much sense when you then say, well, the problem is that we're, from a mental standpoint, we're keeping people in infancy. Well, you just said that that's what you should do to your own child. It makes no sense to me. It's a level of naivety that I this is why I thought Tim Pool was like 28 or 29 years old. I found out today he's like 40. No idea, because there's a level of immaturity there.
I think is great, like so interesting about the millennials is so my little brothers are 12 years younger than me and they're millennials and I'm not. I'm Gen X. I'm Gen X. And so, but we were raised by the same parents just at different times in our parents' lives. And our parents raised us all totally differently based on, where they are in their level of success. I was born when my parents were in their 20s and my brothers were born, to different iterations of parental families, but when they were in their 30s, and it's totally different experience of how they were raised.
Yeah. Well, and there's studies that have been done about how the modern, baby or kids TV shows are deliberately hijacking those young minds at that most impressionable phase. Mm-hmm. And my wife and I, we talk about, if there's programming that our daughter might want to watch, and it's going to be something old school. It's going to be like Little Bear, very non-stimulating.
I love Little Bear.
Yeah, it's on repeat.
We used to watch the old Scooby-Doos. Yep. Like there's this Scooby-Doo with the Harlem Globetrotters videotape that my mom had, and my son would watch it on loop. Yeah, it was good.
Why do you remember it?
Why do I remember it?
For what functional purpose do you know that thing?
Do I know the Scooby-Doo?
Yeah.
I guess because it came on TV.
You know what always bothered me? I wouldn't say it actually makes me angry or anything, but I'm going to tell you all this. You ready? B-A, up, down, left, right, B-A, start. B-A, up, down, left, right, start.
Code and Contra.
Game controller.
It's a video game code.
Yeah.
For Contra.
For which game?
Contra.
No, I'm sorry. It's B-A, up, down, B-A, left, right, B-A, start. There you go.
Mortal Kombat?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. It gives you level select, B-A, up, down, B-A, left.
It's actually Contra. It's Super Mario Brothers World. Every one of those codes I knew as well. And it's the same reason you remember your phone number of your first phone number at your house and your address. The ability for the human brain to consume when there is no limit to the hard drive, right? Your RAM is kicking, you're processing, and you're storing information. And repetition. How many times did you say your address? How many times did you put that repetitive code in of up, down, left, right, A, B, B, A, start? Because that code was used in multiple games to get extra lives. Contra, I think it gave you extra life. And so I remember it as well. I remember 8486 Neath Street, Ventura, California, 93004, 647, 805-647-4867 was my phone number. I will always remember that. Why? Because I made it important to myself. And this is why you go ahead and do repetitive learning. This is why you do word association. And it is absolutely imperative. The reason why you remember Scooby-Doo is it comes down to synapses, and it comes down to the chemical dopamine in your brain that gives pleasure endorphins. And when you think of Scooby-Doo, you think of a happier time. You think of Scooby Snacks. You think of Kick cereal. You think of Reese's Pieces peanut butter cups, or you think of Halloween. And you remember because it's cathartic. You remember these things because it's from a simpler time. It's from a time when life was less complicated, and that gives you positive dopamine hits. Just like when you remember the things you don't like. Like for me, it was Snorks. I thought that was the stupidest effing cartoon in the world. And when I think of Snorks, I get a little anxiety because I didn't like it and I hated it. But when I think of Voltron and I think of Scooby-Doo and He-Man and G.I. Joe, yes, Knight Rider, it's amazing. And it brings us to a simpler time. The difference between that is that that's not programming. That's not programming. Programming is like McDonald's giving you cheese and sugar-filled apple pie and giant shakes that are full of pleasure endorphins that chemically produces something. That is a manipulation. And there are videos and content that do that. And the most perfect example is porn. I guarantee people will not remember the first pair of boobs that they saw, but they will remember that they love boobs if they are a boy or sometimes a girl. things implant differently on people based upon which chemicals are being introduced into the body. So when you ask, why do I remember A-Team or why do I remember MacGyver? Because when the song came on and I got goosebumps, I remember that. But if you ask me the first pair of boobs I saw in a magazine, I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you the first pair of real boobs that I saw from a girl that I was attracted to. So different types of kinetic response is going to yield different types of thoughts from your memory cortex. So when he asked that question, the answer is simple. Because it was important to me and I made it important versus having it important to me because someone told me I had to or used fear to go ahead and put it into my mind. And the difference between what they're doing today is saying, do this or else. Accept every gender or else. Accept that DEI is a good program and it's the civil rights and affirmative action of today. There is a difference between programming and having people having positive reaction to memorial data and stimuli. So it's not that we have to fear that they are going to remember these things that they're seeing on YouTube. The fact is that they are being programmed with information and being told with different type of receptors that they must. That is the problem with this stuff.
They start. Gives you level select and 10 lines.
Yep.
You are to
nothing.
I want to get to Damani.
No.
The guy Joe.
Summer. No, it was Wesley Huff. I don't think he's an apologist. I think he's a public Christian.
He leads Apologetics Canada.
Yes.
So I guess that makes him apologist.
I guess that makes him like.
What does that mean? Like
a sect or something.
Yeah.
I don't really know what that is.
I think
Christine, I'm going to reach out to Damani.
Yeah.
But I like her.
But,
she's very
he
smart.
Said,
so, you know,
he sat down for a marathon episode of Rogan's podcast in January. Said he and the well-known podcast have had on and off communication since then. Adding, I can tell you for a fact that he's attending church, and that has been a consistent thing. I believe it. What I would say, I don't think it's absolutely true. I say that I believe it is possible and probable that Joe Rogan is now attending church regularly because of the people. So I'll put it this way.
It means scholar. He's a scholar.
So I had a great, as I mentioned before, I was talking with Bill Maher, and I said that I'm not an atheist. I don't consider myself, I'm not a Christian. I don't follow any scriptures or anything like that. I don't like using the word deist because deists believe God doesn't intervene or interact with the universe. So that's very specific. I'm like, no, I think there's a God. I just don't know much else.
Like a non-interventionist God perspective.
Yeah, I don't think that. And he's famously atheist. But I mentioned to him that you're losing. And why is this happening? He's the guy who, atheism was getting so big in the 2000s.
Sure. It started with, it started for a long time, but you also had the existentialist movement, which became the post-structuralist movement and became the standard of academic intellectuals. And then that pervaded everything. That pervaded all the academic institutions, all the teaching programs, all of the, leftist political realms.
I think for someone like Joe, much like for someone like me, it's easy to be an atheist when you're only surrounded by liberals and you don't actually hear logical arguments. And for someone like Bill Maher, for instance, I think if you talk to a regular
folks, I got to take a little break. We got to get some donations here. 129.64. We're losing, and I understand a lot of people are on right now, and I appreciate you. And if you are in a position to help out, we would appreciate it. We're at $129. We have 170 to go. I know there might be a couple donations in the kitty, but if you have a chance to help out, please do.
Funding, trying to shut us down. But for over a year, you, our incredible viewers, have kept us going. Your support, your donations, your time, it all matters. Most of you spend 10 plus hours a week with us. Compare that to Netflix, maybe 5 hours a month. We believe we're worth that time, and we hope you do too. But listen, we don't want giving to feel like a burden. We want it to feel good. So take a second to ensure you're in a good spot. If you're in a place to give, that will be amazing. If not, just liking and sharing helps more than you know. Visit thedumbshow.com/donate. Whether it's PayPal, Venmo, or Mail, every bit helps to keep us going. Dumb Nation, we appreciate you more than words can say.
Do appreciate it, folks. If you do have the ability, please help out with helping the show. We're watching Damani Felder with Tim Pool Damani was in our house today. He's a good dude. We like him mucho, and he's chiming in. He's taking his shots. It's hard to get a word in, but he is doing a great job, and we certainly appreciate him very, very much, and very, very excited to talk to him about this show and see what he thinks of it, because I think a lot of people want to hear more from him, but honestly, he's doing a good job. I want to say happy birthday to Zane. He shares a birthday with Hayden. So Zane, happy birthday to you. And also John, thank you so much for the donation. We certainly need that real bad. $50, which puts us at $179. We're now about $120 away. So I'm hoping we can hit that. But once again, Zane, happy birthday to you. And here is the rest of the show.
Guy in the street about theology. I don't think he's going to have great faith.
Actually,
of you.
Years of thinking I was an atheist, and then I realized I was actually grieving the loss of faith, and I could no longer stare into the black void of nothingness. And I was like, oh.
Yes, Angie, she had a great birthday. Thank you for asking.
In a minute.
Well, there's an interesting intersection between many members of the faith community, myself included, and how much our worldview is tied to that hope of a future.
Mm-hmm.
If you truly believe that all there is what we have here on this, literally at some points, God-forsaken earth, then I can understand why there's so many people who are far radical left who will denounce any notion of there being a higher power. So for them, this has to be all there is. So basically anarchy should rule, chaos should reign supreme because there's nothing else to look forward to. But,
right.
I believe the Bible says, be ready to give an answer for the hope that lies within you. So if I'm ready with that answer, that just transcends even religion. It goes even back to my discussions with people on politics. I have to be ready. Tim has to be ready. James, you have to be ready. We all have to be ready to give an answer for what we believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that ties and intersects sometimes with our faith. And when it does, it's a beautiful thing.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
But this is just part of a bigger trend in more and more people are going to church.
Yeah. 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 That's the answer. You just literally had someone explain why atheism is antithetical to human survival, prosperity, and nature. And your response was, yeah, fair enough. Nice to see so many people on YouTube starting to subscribe. I don't know if YouTube's allowing our channel to start to grow, but I've seen more YouTube subscribers than ever before. So thank you so much. Thank you all the people on Twitter. I know it seems like I'm coming down hard on Tim Pool. I expect more from Tim. Tim is a smart human being. Yeah is not an answer to what Damani just said. And he's got two wonderful guests. I love the fact that the other two guests are talking more than James O'Keefe, because see, James is done. James got his plugs. He got his 30-second clips. But now the intellectual side of the conversation starts, and Damani is going to take over with this nice lady, and I don't know who she is, but I really like her. She and Damani seem to be getting along very, very well. When you ask one of your guests a question, you deserve to give them more than yeah. That's it.
The church revival, I guess.
It also, churches have been getting, like, I used to go to a church in Brooklyn that was just it was a sad church. I really liked the priest. I liked the people that I knew there, but it was an aging church. And the church I go to now in West Virginia, there's babies and there's families, and what do they say about church? If it ain't crying, it's dying, And so I love it. And the kid will like look at you over the pew and be like, it's life affirming and good, how it should be.
I look at it like, Alice and I have talked about it. What do we want for our daughter? And we're lapsed Catholics, and we don't.
You should come to my church.
We don't follow scripture or anything, but we do understand that the teachings of the church are good and were good for us. There's just a difference between understanding the logical good that comes from this belief structure and actually believing in the faith, and we don't have that.
Thank you, Paul.
But then it's an issue of like, well, I don't want to go to church for that reason. It feels disingenuous, but at the same time, we really don't want our daughter to grow up influenced by these other lunatics.
And the other thing too is
it says a lot of little ones will get us there, dummy. That's right. If everyone donated right now $1, we hit goal.
You go even if you don't believe. Like the Catholic Church is full of full of opportunities for doubt and for that doubt to be allayed. Like, look at Thomas. Thomas still was there, and he was super tight with Jesus, even though he was like, I don't think you were raised from the dead. Show me your hands. So, I mean, that's what the church is for. The church is there to embrace non-believers.
Well, of course, literally every Christian's like, just go. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Also,
like, go and say you don't believe. We don't care. We want you there.
Also, if you go to the church that I go to, it's so vibrant. It doesn't matter. Like,
do they do a potluck afterwards?
They sometimes do.
You got to do it every time.
You don't have to go, but there's so many good community aspects. Like, my son has a lot of friends at church, and so we'll go. And then after mass, I can't find him.
We need to get her on.
And I'm like,
I like her.
Hours if you want to go talk to her.
If she doesn't have a full-time gig, I'll pay her to be on our show.
What's funny is that
Damani's doing well. He's starting to win him over a little bit by the intellectual side has started. So he's doing really well.
Tale or whatever.
Did we wish a happy birthday to Zane?
Sure did.
It's just literally nothing like that because it's.
But I'm telling you what, if she doesn't have a full-time gig, I'll put her on our show. She's that good.
Now, much to the detriment of the Christians who tolerate and allow bad people to do these things.
And the left has created the Handmaid's Tale with surrogacy. That is the
Islam
Handmaid's
too.
Tale. Yeah, I mean, all of this stuff, polyamory. I mean, they're the ones who are creating the conditions of that Atwood novel.
The Handmaid's Tale, it dramatizes what can happen when you pervert what the intent of religion or spirituality could be, right? Because if with any religion you have, you can be an individual who is a quote unquote extremist. People say that, certain religions are the quote unquote religion of peace, but it seems very antithetical to what you see on the news if you are looking at certain stories about, what was the common denominator here, right? But what's interesting is now with the left, they're trying to create religion as if that is the thing we should be rallying
with the self
against.
At the center.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And the longer they're allowed
individualism,
to do that, the more honestly you're seeing people who are maybe counterculture saying, maybe I should check out what the church is talking about. Maybe it isn't all bad. Maybe it's not going to be the end all be all to all my problems, but it's better than the alternative.
And there's ancient traditions that are so cool.
Yep.
I mean, what better way to understand or at least attempt to understand what humanity is than to tap into the oldest traditions that, your religious faith has to offer.
James O'Keefe is lost.
There's traditions going back.
I want someone to mention secular humanism and just watch James O'Keefe's head explode. James just like, me want to talk about government persecution over me truth. Me don't understand. You make tough comments for Keith. Me, Mongo need beer. These two are taking over the show, and the reason why is because cream rises to the top, even if it's black cream.
In thousands of years, like Jesus was celebrating.
Is there such thing as black cream? There is now.
A Passover Seder. We can all do that, because we were talking.
Don
before,
Bradley, thank you. Every little bit helps. Thank you, Don.
Traditions from the
$100,
Ages,
folks. $100 away.
Like this one called Tenebrae, that happens during Lent, and you can feel the historicity of it. You can feel that people for thousands of years were doing this.
James, I've never actually seen you talk about it or ever talked to you about it.
About faith?
Yeah.
About religion? I'm a man
Charity.
of faith. I'm a very spiritual person. I think the experiences in my life and the challenges have made me more so realize this is a fight of good versus evil.
I agree. When I was younger, I didn't believe in good and evil. I thought that it was competing interests, largely believing that they were correct and morally justified.
Thanks for helping,
and that was
Thomas.
very naive to think. And you get older, and then you just start to question why some people are just possessed. It's just demonic.
It's a demonic. The experiences I've been faced with, and I've realized this is a spiritual war, and it's a story of original sin. And it's actually what they don't tell you is the evil is actually within us. It's not just out there in the enemy. It's like within us. You have to conquer that evil within yourself.
Well, because we're all monsters.
Correct.
But have you noticed that there seems to be a disquieting common phenomenon that all too often I'll see a certain look in someone's eyes, and sometimes it can give away. Oh, okay. So if you're out chanting and blocking an ambulance or whatever, and you got your fist in the air, and you're showing me the tops of the whites of your eyes, okay, that's almost giving me a clue as to what your ideology is. It's kind of interesting when you start, I'm not trying to get too conspiratorial, but sometimes you'll see that manifestation of the spiritual life or lack thereof in a person based on how they choose to comport and present themselves.
I was talking to Jack Basobic, and I said, you know, the Christian scripture stuff, the resurrection, none of that sways my opinion on things because I don't experience that. To me, I get it. There are stories and it's history and things like that. But the one thing that really sways me is demons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come to me and talk to me about demons, and then I'm like, I'm listening because that I've experienced. There's like there is this evil that possesses people that I can't logically explain.
Oh, it's terrifying to see it.
People that I've known my whole life that one day woke up as demons. And I'm going to say this, demon figuratively or literally, call it whatever you want. People that I've known my whole life that were friends, and then one day just started doing destructive, violent, evil things.
Sounds like the situation of Project Veritas we're about to talk about.
Oh, come on.
Indeed. And
that's exactly what happened to me.
Excellent segue, Mr. James.
Speaking of Rogan, did you see how he was on the air the other day and asked about this? Joe Rogan? He said what happened at Project Veritas? Why doesn't James O'Keefe release the videotapes of Project Veritas? The video guy, what was
I assume that Joe recorded that episode the day before you announced.
Epstein's library, right? I mean, he was.
This is
James O'Keefe just released video
just
of
20
Epstein's
seconds.
library, right? I mean, his undercover videos were amazing, incredible. And then he got ousted at Project Veritas, right? And then I wonder what happened there. I'd like to know what the story there is because there's no official story. The guy who releases everything, why wouldn't he release that?
That was actually Wednesday.
Can I tell you, Liv?
Yes.
What frustrates me about this? Sorry, honey, I forgot you weren't in the video.
Absolutely.
Is that this show was finally getting into something that was worth the panel's time. They were discussing the clear differences between the left and the right from a spiritual standpoint. Not existentialism, not monetary gain, not global dominance or who's on the Fortune 500. They went into spirituality, which will bring people to the answers because the beasts within they will not succumb to with God. Or they will at least have the tools to resist and fight the beast within. Mm-hmm. And it is something that the entire country is moving towards. And it's one of the most massive influx of people moving to Christianity that we've seen in decades. And you move on to O'Keefe's podcast and him self-aggrandizing.
Like I said, he wants to be the center of attention.
It frustrates the shit out of me.
And he doesn't like not being the center of attention.
Maybe I'm a negative guy. Maybe I'm just negative. But if O'Keefe was on my podcast, I'd just be like, bro, you've already plugged your show. Do you have anything of value to add to this conversation?
Well, I doubt he would ever be on our show.
This is why I am never going to be big. Because I just won't do it. I will not allow you to side rail the conversation for self-promotion and self-aggrandizement. Her name is Libby. I fucking love her.
I guess they said Libby Emmons.
Yep. Libby Emmons. And I just told Damani to say, I love her and thank you, because this is what I wrote to Damani. I said Lonnie because spell check. I said, tell Libby I love her and she really helped you with her positive comments and support. You both killed it. I mean, you were actually getting Tim to shut up and listen. And then, O'Keefe has to come in here and pull the national choir. I want this woman on our show. I don't care what it takes. I love her. And I want to just tell her thank you because she really has helped and been supportive of Damani. And she's saying great stuff.
I wonder if he's got his phone and can see that.
No, he's going to see it after the show. He's not going to be rude and look at his phone right now. But he's going to... But, I mean, O'Keefe disappeared for 25 minutes. What is he doing?
Being uncomfortable.
Like an hour later, I released...
Because he's not talking about himself.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, what you were just talking about, spirituality, that was...
It was real deep.
Just so... I mean, you saw the...
So here...
It was really deep, man. Like, what if dog spelled cat? Whoa. It's deep, man. Folks, we are $87 away. Would love some help. Thank you.
It is.
This is it.
Right. James O'Keefe just released video of Epstein's life.
I don't care.
Conflict of interest.
He points to his mansion and
I never.
Wait, did he just check his phone?
Matt.
He did.
Oh, you know what? I think I have
see kind of the
he
nature
did.
of this.
He did.
Of interest
Watch.
policy.
How do you define conflict of interest?
Oh, I don't know. Give me a dictionary and I'll read you the definition.
Now, so I'm announcing it. So we released. There's so many clips to show it. If you scroll down, I'm confronting this guy. It keeps going on.
We have the timestamps.
I think I got a smirk.
Film.
I think
that's from the actual film.
Oh,
from
okay.
The long
right.
film. If you want to. There it is. Go back to me. This is me talking to one of the board members of Project Veritas.
When you were on my board, did you disclose that you had investments in these medical companies?
At the time I was on your board, I didn't.
When did you begin investing in Matt Tierman's companies?
A few years ago.
While you were on the board?
Yes, I think I was on the board then.
I want to talk about your investments in
I want to
medical
talk
companies.
about...
Powerful sin, envy, deposed back to a conference in people.
Too in that first term.
In people. I always wanted to believe the best in people, but the incentive to betray me and to be in it for the wrong reasons. I think a lot of people want the credit. They want to be famous. This is the truth. They just want to be famous. They want to be the credit. And I think if that's what your motivation is, if that's why you're doing this, you're probably not. You shouldn't be there.
Well, that's what happened with Trump, too, in that first term, was I feel like he threw open his arms and said, anyone who's on Team MAGA, I want you to be a part.
Right.
And he did get burned by more than a few people who were in it for those selfish, self-serving reasons. And now I think we're seeing in the second term, he has a little bit more discernment. Of course, some people would say maybe he should have even more discernment.
Because people are more loyal now.
Yes, I agree.
Someone commented, Patrick, he says, how is what Tim and James just did any different from the guy in the video saying you can't afford this while pointing to his house? James and I did not look into the camera and mock you for not being able to afford helicopters and jets. That guy was insulting James because James can't afford to live in a mansion like he does. That was the world he valued. I don't care about flying first class or flying jets or any of those things. I'm not, and I don't have disdain for people who don't do those things, and I don't mock people for not having those things.
Right. Yeah, I think envy.
First time Tim has been absolutely 100% authentic and right. And it's amazing when you bring your viewers in where you see the true value of people and you find out their identity and you find out, like, some of the best parts of our show is when someone pisses Olivia off or Amy or Leroy or even myself, and you see us react and you get to find out their true character. To me, more of that. Less of using this as O'Keefe Media Group story hour. You know, Tim's a good dude. He's not a bad person, and I actually really like him. But I would love for him to come on my show. And I would love to see what him and Bill Maher have to say to each other.
Well, maybe after we get the new studio built, we can somehow reach out to him. It's not like he doesn't live right down the road.
I don't know if he wants to talk about the things that I want to talk about. Like, intellectualism is not about how much you know. It's about admitting how much you don't know and listening to people and asking questions. Libby is excellent at it. Libby, and I'll give him credit. James O'Keefe would be so much more likable if he would continue to ask questions, because he asked some really good ones. He's asked questions of Damani and Tim, and I'm like, those are good questions. But when you ask a question not to learn, but you ask a question so you can talk and lead someone down a path, so you can just say something a canned response, I don't know. It just comes across as authentic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
The form of, anyone who says you look at my mansion, you can't afford it, probably didn't build their business from scratch.
I remember.
Thank you, Deborah.
One of the famous
Love you too.
clips from Real Time with Ben Shapiro when he was on with Malcolm Nance, and then Nance said something like, "How do you sleep at night?" And he says, "On a pile of money." And people on the right were cheering for that. And I'm like, I don't think that was a good answer.
What Ben Shapiro said, on a pile of money?
On a big pile of money. And
that sounds uncomfy.
I like her so much.
But the point
She's
was,
awesome.
He's successful and
Holy
rich.
shit, Bobby.
So-
Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby.
We just hit at 321, Bobby. Thank you, hun. You're the best. We love you too.
That's what you insult me, I insult you back. And everyone did appreciate the snapback, but I'm not a fan of that.
Well, I mean, I think that was, I mean, in response to that, yeah, that's not what we're doing here. Where there's a contempt and there's a jealousy that is inherent in many institutions, Tim. It's in our economics, it's in our humanity, it's in our politics. I mean, people are probably envious of you. I'm sure you've experienced this.
And they're evil.
And you have to be careful in a media organization, because if you're the public figure and you have all these staffers who are helping you, and you're making money and you're the owner, you're taking all the risks in your business, right? They may not have an equity stake. They can grow quite resentful. And at Project Veritas, a union, for lack of a better word, a union began to form. People began to go on strike and say, why is this guy getting all the credit? Well, of course, he's also taking all the arrows. He's also, getting sued, going raided, getting jailed, but they don't think about that. So and what I discovered was, and this really rocked my worldview, is that our notion of right left, it's not really a thing. It's human nature. But watching all these right wingers behave like communists, they created this revolutionaries chat inside the company, and they were just like trying to find ways to hurt me.
Can you talk about the current state of Veritas and any like how are they doing, or are you
just say
talk to and I can give you exactly what you want because they're evil people. It's demonic. I was shocked. I'm like, bro, like why? What are you doing?
But I'm sure as a very successful journalist, a very successful podcaster, you're incredibly successful and talented. You probably have experienced this type of envy from a lot of different people just because you're successful.
Of course.
In every way.
So look, there was a viral post on X where Bill Gates said that in 10 years, we'll have a 2-day work week because AI will eliminate so many jobs. And I said, then the people who choose to work 5 days will make more money. And the people who work 2 days will demand higher taxes than the people working 5 days because they're rich. And
that's a good point. Yep. That's great.
My point, look, I work 14 to 16 hours every single day.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut him off because I'm gonna tell you how hard Tim Pool is, hands down the hardest worker in this business that I've ever seen. Hands down. Tim Pool works harder than me. And I work my ass off. But Tim is on in the morning. He's on in the afternoon. He's out on a Friday. It's Memorial Day weekend. It's 10 o'clock at night, and he's been on all day, and he's working. He constantly drives the machine. He has an amazing work ethic, and I admire the shit out of him. From a work ethic, hands down, he's untouchable. Untouchable. But as an interviewer, he doesn't connect with his interview unless he wants something from them. I don't like that. He's not connecting, in my opinion, with Libby. He's short answers. But when O'Keefe goes, you start to see him laugh. He should smile more. He should be more energetic and engaging. These are just critiques. He's very smart. And I actually liked him. But I'm a critical guy. I've always been critical. But he is an amazing and hard worker. I got to give him that. And he has built his kingdom, and he deserves every bit of success that he has. I can never take that away from him. But you shouldn't treat a guest differently. You shouldn't have them on their show. If you wanted to talk to O'Keefe, you should have sent Damani to another day and Libby to another day. Because honestly, I find Libby and Damani 100 times more interesting than O'Keefe. Your thoughts, Libby?
I don't know much about him. So I can't. I mean, the only memory I have of Tim Pool is when I saw him talking about January 6th and how he said he was there next to Ashley Babbitt or something, or he was in the hall when Ashley Babbitt got shot, and how he was defending everything. That's really the only thing I've ever seen of Tim Pool. I don't watch any other podcasts.
Yeah, I know.
So I didn't even know who James O'Keefe was until just now.
Yeah.
So I don't have much of an opinion. I mean, I respect the hard work.
Oh, yeah.
I see how hard you work. and how many hours you put in to making this work. And so, I mean, I have to respect that. And I think it's more honorable and more respectful starting it from the ground up on your own and doing this on your own, because it sounds like Tim Pool did that as well and started it from the ground up, and turning it into what it is, than being handed a show that was already there, or buying viewers like the Krastestein brothers
or Benny.
Yeah. But, or, you know, somebody giving you, you know, $500,000 check and going, here, make yourself successful. And you spend $50,000 a month on advertising and get yourself bought with an audience. So I think building it organically, like you have, and like we have, and it sounds like Tim Pool has, is more respectable than the other way.
Yeah. A lot of people are hitting O'Keefe on the comments. I'm looking at some of the comments, and listen, I once again, I don't have a problem with O'Keefe. You've got to market yourself in the way that you can, and he obviously is very good at self-promotion. Mel said, well, the draw was O'Keefe. Why? That's the problem. Create something that you can be proud of. Damani and I sat and talked about this. I'm not doing this for money. Damani's not doing it for money. The money helps us continue what we're doing, but this isn't about the financial gain of this. I've had money and I haven't had money, and I'll tell you, I'm happier in both situations as long as I have my wife and my kids and my friends. That's truly, and honestly, my faith, which is not as strong as it should be, but I'm telling you, I'm learning. We talked about this today. Everything they're talking about, Damani and I had a conversation about today in the car. We talked about God too. We talked about religion. So I understand O'Keefe's the draw, but I just think it's very ostentatious. Can you imagine if Damani started sharing football pictures?
Yeah.
That's my point, you know? Or Libby starts showing, you know, her potluck at church. There's 3 other people at that table, and your job is to facilitate, in my opinion, deep intellectual thought. Otherwise, there's no reason to have Damani on. And honestly, there's no reason to have Libby on, because she is as sharp as a fucking tack. James O'Keefe just looks like a third wheel in this conversation. I think it detracts from the show. Like, if you had Jordan Peterson on the other end of that table, you would have just as much draw, and your conversation would be profound. But it's like literally starting a 3-man hockey team on a 3-on-3, and you put the backup goaltender as your first pairing. What are you doing? You don't put 2 superstars with a goaltender, full pads back there on defense. He's going to get smoked. I just think that this was a Sesame Street thing, and somebody put 2 squares in square holes and tried to force a circle in one of them and didn't fit. That's my opinion.
Bobby said, if Tim was at J6, why wasn't he arrested?
I'm not going to get into that. It's not my, I don't know anything about it, and I have no desire to know anything about it. It's not my, I will not speak on that stuff. I just don't know. I just don't know. So, and I don't care to know, because, but I will tell you, Tim is very passionate about it, and he's the expert. And if you watch his show, you'll most assuredly hear it, but I'm not going to speak on that. The reason I said this is Tim's numbers have dropped astronomically in the last 2 months. It's been strange. Well, they've dropped off because a lot of people think that he is a Zionist. And a lot of people are segmenting away from Israel, and he has been an advocate of Israel. And that's a big reason. And a lot of people are losing viewers because they're not anti-Zionist enough. Yeah, we're going to talk about this on Monday, and I've got a lot to talk to you about, and I wish I would have been able to show you some of this tonight, but we're going to finish this up. Let's see if Damani has anything else to say.
Some hours on the weekends, and I make a lot of money by doing it. And then the leftists demand I pay higher taxes for making more money, because the presumption is I'm working the same amount as them and making more money than them. When the reality is I'm working more hours than them, more than double, which creates an exponential growth curve in developing a business and generating revenue.
It's like that whole thing about, women make some smaller amount on the dollar to men. And it's like, well, there's
less.
Reasons for that.
Yeah, they work 32 hours on average.
Reasons, yeah.
We do have to go to chats. We got to read your chats. So smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know. We do have another sponsor. Call whatever you want, but I too. It's really good. Anyway, I should. Yeah, you're working.
Like,
Your heart rate. Gold can see that. Eating out to and I think working 60. It's like yes. We need what you do, and we will support you so long as you keep doing it. And that's the obligation.
Have you seen these comments about O'Keefe Media on the internet where they're like, we need you to get this. We need you to do this for free. And it's like people feel entitled. You know what I'm talking about? Of
course.
They feel entitled to my labor, which is also a communist. It's like saying I deserve free health care. You're forcing someone else to work.
Well, this comment's communist too. The bricklayer works harder than the CEO of a company who works 16 hours a day and
bullshit.
Weekends. It's just like
it's a different
who
type
gets
of
death
work.
Threats, who gets swatted. Bro, I understand laying bricks is hard. And it's fascinating because the left, their principal argument, they love to make things up. They say, Tim's never worked a real day of labor in his life. I worked for 2 years as a ramp agent at O'Hare Airport. I lifted 50,000 pounds of luggage every single day. Yeah. And we count because we have load manifests and we actually track the weight of the luggage and we add them up at the end of every day. And it's like 13,000 pounds of luggage every flight that we're lifting up and pulling on and off. And yeah, it was brutal and the pay was bad. And, I got to be honest, still easier.
Can we talk about, though, how it probably does look really easy for people who see the finished product? Like, I'm sure sometimes you wish people could see everything that goes on behind the scenes, what's right off camera.
Yes.
Because even like myself, I am nowhere near the level of any of these greats I'm at the table with from that standpoint on social media. I know how difficult it is to get up, still work my normal job, and then come home. You have to edit, script write, produce, post-production. All these things are super difficult to do, but when the video is done, it looks really easy. I'm here to tell you, it is not easy to do what you do, and for people who are good at it, you should be rewarded for that effort that you put in.
Well, Tim brought up one of the most important points is he said getting sued. And man, some of these people that some of these woke right, whatever communist-esque people.
Right, it's funny term.
Whatever you want to call it. I don't know if that's woke right. I'm not sure.
No.
That's a different
woke right are liberals.
Separate thing. You get sued when you're the owner and the leader and you're the boss. Mm-hmm. And these people who betray
again.
I'm still defending them in the courts. I'm
James,
still indemnifying them.
Let me ask you a question. Have you
Didn't Veritas pull the legal counsel for some of the guys?
Yeah, they pulled when the FBI, when they fired me from Project Veritas, I still had to pay their legal bills while they were. I mean, it was the whole thing.
James, have you ever been sued because of the actions of an employee?
What do you mean?
Have you ever been sued?
Sued personally? Yeah. I name names. Christian Hartsock, really great, talented guy, did the Democracy Partner story. He wasn't named in a lawsuit. I was sued. So he's the one who recorded the thing of Bob Kramer, and they sued. I'm currently defending myself for what my employee did. And by the way, I'm not complaining. I take that responsibility willingly, and I'm happy to accept that responsibility. Well, what I don't accept is communist behavior, like what you're describing in the comments section, and envy and resentment towards me, because you didn't endure what I had to endure.
This is
you didn't go through what I went through, getting sued, jury trials, sleeping on a couch, raising $100 from nothing, starting in my dad's garage, 3 years federal probation. You didn't take those risks. And what happens to people is they look at success and they think, oh, I can do that. That's easy.
Yep.
They
give up. They give up.
Oh, they're not strong enough.
No.
They're not strong enough.
I worked, they don't give up. Giving up means that you tried something. And I get this all. I got to do this, Libby.
Okay.
I get this all the time. Damani said it when he walked in my house, and he goes, "Holy shit!" And we start talking. He's like, "How come I don't know these stories about you?" And he sees a piece of history on the wall, or sees an award or something. And he's like, "I didn't know any of this about you. Why don't you?" And I said, "Because I don't let it define who I was. Because that's not who I am. Everything I have done in my life is for self-fulfillment, except for the things that weren't. And the best accomplishments I've ever achieved are usually when I am working harder for someone else. And I will tell you, my biggest success at Hollywood was having a great boss and friend. My best success at Apple was my loyalty to Steve Jobs and Tim Cook and Johnny Ive because I admired them. I admired their marketing genius. And Tim more for his operational genius. I was successful at Comcast because of just a person named David Salazar, who I loved and adored as a mentor. And I was successful at Valor because I love the mission and I love veterans. And I was successful at Valor Construction and Valor Home because I had a wife and a daughter and a son that I had to provide for and get us out of the hole that COVID put us in. And now I do this show for the people to help my own psychosis and my own neurotic behavior to fulfill the thing that I need, which is no longer be involved in customer service, but be involved in being a purveyor of truth and try to entertain a group of people with something that has left humanity, which is a thirst for knowledge and understanding that is accurate and completely quantifiable. And that is a massive responsibility. And I truly believe that Olivia and Leroy and Amy and all the dummies and all the guests we have help us get there. But I had to throw it all in, every dime I had, every hour, every minute, every day that I've been in this room for the last 4 years is paying off. And I told Olivia today, I said, our first investment was around $10,000 to $50,000 of our life. The next investment we're going to make is going to be between $100,000 and $500,000. This is the move. And the next move we make after that is going to be $1 to $1.5 million. And the reason I'm doing that is because it is a constant state of flux. And when you say people quit, no, they don't quit. They never started. Because a true person whose passion is success and has a vision of something to be successful, they do not quit. It fails them. Otherwise, you never started. If you're not willing to do this from sun up to sundown, when you are exhausted, when your hair is pulled out, when you're in tears, when your hands are in your face or in your hands and you can't function, and your wife comes to you and says, how can I help? And she touches you and it creates pain because you feel so alone and dejected because you've put everything into something. Then you understand what it takes to win and be successful. If you haven't been there, then you never tried. So I can't stand, Tim should never say those words in his life because he is not a person who didn't try. He put everything into this and he is ridiculed and he is loved and adored. And it is a polar opposite feeling. You either love him or you hate him. And the same thing happens with me. And trust me, that is a lonely place to be sometimes. If you gave up and say you quit, you never tried. That's my opinion. Any thoughts on that, Libby?
Nope. You said it all.
Sorry. I'm not trying to overtake it. I think it's really important. Like, this is where I'll defend Tim Pool because I know how hard this man works. I understand. I haven't taken a vacation in how many years?
Last vacation we took was 3 years ago.
But nothing from this show. It was Valor.
Yeah. No, I mean, you even took the show on the road then. No, you've never really taken a vacation. We've taken a couple of days off during the week, but that's about it.
It's an exhausting, and don't cry for me, Argentina. I'm just saying that is why I don't get frustrated when people donate and people make comments like the person who influenced my daughter's life last night, and my daughter literally just destroyed, is because you have no idea. You haven't even worked in 40 years. You have no idea. You gave up and quit on life a long time ago, not me.
Vice. Everybody saw these videos we were putting out. They're getting millions of views. And I'd get emails from people saying, I want to do what you do. The moment I actually explained and they had an opportunity, they were like, nah, I don't want to do that. It's like, no, what you want is the idea.
Tim, I got sued last week. And there's all these war stories. I swear to God. I'm not kidding. I got sued last week by this guy inside the Pentagon that I recorded that who's
If it's everyone else, maybe it's you.
Yeah.
FBI agent Jamie Menina, he was doing.
And then you're like, well, you're not for free speech. I'm not gonna take time out. He's an intrepid journalist. And I was like,
I think it's the difference between
dude one.
And then he literally had to live his life as a rat man.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's a great
fingernails
corollary.
were disgusting. The whole thing.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling. She wrote some good stories.
She did write some good stories.
Yeah, I don't like the movies, like the new movies, the animals ones or whatever that is. I think it's silly.
Boring.
Yeah, boring and dumb.
Yeah, that's the problem with it. It's boring.
I've been saying J.K. Rowling needs to write a sequel Harry Potter series where the villain is communist.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously Harry Potter is just about magic Hitler.
Right.
Voldemort's like, everyone should be magical, not non-magical, magic supremacy. And it's like, yeah, we get it. He's European Hitler. He's magic Europe Hitler, whatever. Or I don't even say Europe, just magic Hitler. But she should do one where it's magic Stalin.
You did. The Ministry of Magic was communist. Dipshit. The Ministry of Magic was 100% communist, and so was the state media for the ministry. The ministry, the newspapers, everything was all state-run media.
Yep.
And even in the ministry, they employ people based upon not paying them for their labor. They're responsible for communist work. And this is why the Weasleys were so poor. The Weasleys is why Mr. Weasley had to go ahead and dig up trolls and do extra troll runs and raids in order to make ends meet, and was paid a pittance for what he did. And there was disparity between the 3% and the oligarchs in the communist government of the Ministry of Magic, from censorship to everything else. So read them again, dude.
The Magic Nations colludes with governments to develop technology that can suppress or deflect magic spells because they believe no one should be able to have magic because it puts them above and they're oppressors.
Oh, yeah. It'd be like that Vonnegut Harrison Bergeron.
Yeah, something like that. The idea being that you get a new villain who believes that people with magic powers oppress those without.
Mm-hmm.
And so they conspire with governments of the Muggle world to go to war.
And that's not the way communists would be. What they would do is that they would create a system, a magical device that would take your powers and equally distribute it based upon the governments demonstrating the need, where no one would have excessive power. So Voldemort and Gandalf, although Voldemort did horrible things and terrible things, they were great, as Ollivander said. But Dumbledore, who was also just as manipulative and just as destructive as Voldemort in a lot of ways, also did inherently good things too. So the ministry would believe that all wizards would have to be equal, and they would harness and remove all their powers, and subject at birth, you would have to enter this machine that would basically put a governor on your powers and then redistribute them once the government took the most power of anybody so they could maintain their power and usurp it from the people. That would be a communist story, not what you're talking about.
And strip the powers away from.
I think of Harrison Bergeron every day because I'll be sitting there writing and my cat will come over and start meowing and I'll be like, stop erasing my thoughts. Stop.
I love her. I love her.
That's a good story. You should read it if you hadn't. What was it? Athletic people had to carry weights.
Yeah. The ballerina, like they broke her legs.
Yeah.
She wasn't so good at dancing. Ridiculous.
Yep. Shane H. Walter says the Konami code is up, up, down, down, left, right, BA start. Up, down, left, right, BA start. Contra, 99 lives.
That everybody knows this. I know a lot of useless.
There were multiple
stuff
too. Multiple codes.
And,
Metal Gear had different codes.
I used to know only useless stuff about plays and theater and like what different kinds of lights were called and like what happens in the seagull. And now I know a lot of useless stuff about politics.
Good for trivia night one day. One day it'll come in handy.
It comes in handy on the show, and I'm like, oh, I knew that. Okay.
Okay, let's see what else we have in the old chat box. Devin Porter says a magnetic pole shift won't create a cataclysmic continental shift. It would take a magnetic field several times stronger than a magnetar to move the Earth's crust 1 inch in any direction. The Earth's magnetic field is 25K to 166K, weaker than an MRI machine.
Talking about Adam and Eve.
What's a magnetron?
The Adam and Eve conspiracy theory?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I heard about that.
A magnetron?
Yeah. What's the Adam and Eve conspiracy
a magnetar.
theory? I know all the
Exactly, I'm with
questions.
that.
A magnetar is a magnetic star or something.
Every 6,500 years,
yeah.
there's a pole shift and it destroys civilization.
The planet tilts and moves in a different direction. Here's what I think is possible, though. You ever see that thing they do in space where they take the T-shaped tool and they spin it, and then it periodically will flip the other direction? Could be like that, you know? Or I'm talking about my ass, and I have no idea. I'm not a scientist, and I have no idea.
Physics.
But there are a lot of people that believe the poles are shifting now, and there are several news reports, even CNN reported it, the poles have shifted. They're moving. So an interesting thing happened where the North Pole shifted a bit too far, and then instruments for aviation were wrong.
That's why the compass got weird, right?
Is that what it was?
Weird? Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And so,
folks, the poles are in constant state of flux and shift. There's a 3% downgrade from the Earth's poles at any given time, which can be an overall 6% from its ecliptic. So the Earth is constantly in a 6-degree state of center tap of true north, and this gradually happens over time. Unless you are plotting a course over an extensive series of miles, that 3% grade is going to have very little consequence. Liv, remember when I told you there was a 2% grade in our wall?
Yes.
But what was the overall distance from the 20 feet? How many inches?
2 inches.
2 inches. And I said it was going to be 2 inches because I did the math in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So a 2-degree outward slope from the top of the room to a 2-degree downward, the math came to in 20 feet was divisible by 1, which created a 2% to the left and a 2% to the right, which would be overall 4%, which came down to like 2 inches in my head. And that's what it was. So I want you to create that by 20 miles now, and now do 200 miles, and then do 2,000 miles, then do 20,000 miles. And the bigger you go, the bigger impact it will have on the degradation of your original starting point to your end point. So a 3-degree pole shift absolutely will will make a major difference for a continent. It will make a modicum of difference for a country, and it will make absolutely no difference for a city or a town. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to talk about a 10-degree swing, now you're talking about a cataclysmic difference for a continent, a moderate to severe consequence for a country, and a still negligible but possible serious impact for a city, state, or city or town. And the reason why is the larger the land mass, the more impact it will have. So I want you to imagine if Asia, lower left of Eurasia, turns to the left and then to the right goes up. Well, all of a sudden, you're talking about the freezing that takes place in the Bering Strait now will take place in the Sea of Japan. That's a much different situation. But a 3-degree pole shift is literally the wobble of the Earth, and it takes place.
The Adam and Eve theorists believe that we're on the verge of a cataclysmic pole shift where the poles will flip, but in the process, the planet will twist and tilt down. And
we're all dead.
South America on the globe like this will be like this along the equator going around.
There won't be anybody left to care.
At the equator. Like Florida will be, Canada will, I think, what happens? Canada, it's.
Okay, Liv.
Yes.
You have a globe, and it's spinning like this.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball on my finger.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And you've got friction across all 360 degrees, 3.14 symmetrical, all the way around the entire globe, right?
Yes.
Because literally the spin and the centripetal force is literally pushing in. This is ultimately how we get our atmosphere and how we get the gravitational push that creates our atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And you're spinning. Now I want you to go ahead and if a 45-degree turn. So you're here at 90 degrees and you go down here. I want you to imagine an entire Earth, a ball you're spinning on your finger, literally just switching with the pressure that's on your finger and your finger point, but it's all around in every single point of the earth. What's going to happen to that ball when you literally try to flip it or slap it? It is going to,
and it's going to drop, and
everybody's going to die. So this theory is fucking stupid. Pardon my French, because yes, you may have South America now be Western Eastern America, but guess what? Nobody's going to be alive because the earth is in a perpetual spin of 1,000 miles an hour. And to literally make it turn without it shearing off the skin of the earth, it has to be a gradual turn. But if you're talking about literally like a T-bar that's floating in space and then literally centripetal force happens and the inertia and mass flip that like this, you're talking about an instantaneous flip. And if that happens, the entire earth is done and everybody on is dead. So who cares?
Long ways, it's going to be tilting it. So I think what happens is Florida ends up near the equator or something like that.
It's already hot
Florida's
down there.
already close.
Yeah.
That's correct, Tom.
So if North and South America are like this and it goes like this, the poles have shifted. They're moving. So an interesting thing happened where the North Pole shifted a bit too far, and then instruments for aviation were wrong.
That's why the compass got weird, right?
Is that what it was?
Weird? Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And so there are the Adam and Eve theorists believe that we're on the verge of a cataclysmic pole shift where the poles will flip, but in the process, the planet will twist and tilt down. And South America on the globe like this will be like this along the equator going around. The South Pole becomes at the equator. Like Florida will be, Canada will, I think what happens, Canada, it's going to be long ways. It's going to be tilting it. So I think what happens is Florida ends up near the equator or something like that.
It's already hot
Florida's
down there.
already close.
Yeah.
Wouldn't Florida?
Yeah. So if North and South America are like this and it goes like,
dude, Florida would be in the North Atlantic for fuck's sake. Seriously, learn some geography. You guys understand why we are in a constant state of perpetual spin? We understand we have a magnetic field around the earth. So in order for that to happen, what you're seeing is a magnetic wobble. Have you guys ever seen a spindle?
Mm-hmm.
Put it down, what happens? It starts to do this.
In the end, it starts to shake.
Yeah. But it doesn't always. Mm-mm. Sometimes it goes straight again. And then sometimes it does that. And then it straightens out again. Okay? A centripetal wobble, magnetic wobble. This is why you see the poles in flux. Because there's different amount of pressures and different amount of poles. And the magnetic field around the earth is in a constant state of flux. But it's not enough to allow it to fall. Because the pressure that is around the earth is from all sides, which creates its balance. And sometimes when it's further away from an object, it might pull or push to a different area. And this is a constant state of the poles moving. And yes, you will see some climate alterations. But if the earth is to lose its magnetic field, which is the pressure around it from all sides, and immediately stop in order for it to turn on its side at a 45-degree angle, we have a lot more to worry about because we're going to lose our atmosphere and we're going to lose our oxygen. And we're also going to see such, in my opinion, if that took place, such an amazing amount of energy disbursement that the planet's probably going to heat up to probably 1,800 degrees in a nanosecond. We're all going to be dead. We'll be vaporized. Paul says that's why there is a local declination adjustment at the bottom of maps depending upon the magnetic field pulling on that compass. Yes. And we don't just do magnetic navigation here as well. GPS requires nothing of magnetic north. Works on completely a different system than that. So there are just the true north on a compass isn't true north, and it never is. Okay, let's finish this up. I think Olivia and I need a day off. We're ready. What do we get to do? Construction
and birthday parties.
I know.
Then Florida is slightly north of the equator.
Yes, the North Atlantic, dude. Half of it
would be slightly north, and then California would be cold. California would be like Canada.
No,
that's what they deserve.
Well, to be fair, they already are like Canada in other ways.
Right? Exactly.
My friends, smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. It is Memorial Day weekend, okay? And it is to honor those who have sacrificed everything so that we can relax, have a beer and a burger, and this country is built on the sacrifice of people who wanted you to succeed. And so we remember that, and we get an extra, we get a time to relax, but it's the gift they've given us. It's not the 3-day weekend like Kamala shouted out and everyone got mad about. So I hope you do have a good time, and I hope you remember why. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. General, would you like to start and shut something out?
Sure. The Damani Felder on TikTok, on X, Damani Bryant Felder on Facebook, and Damani Felder on YouTube. Doing my best to just do my part to speak the truth to whoever will listen.
James O'Keefe here. Watch the new film, The Truth Inside Veritas, Part 1. The Truth Inside Veritas, O'KeefeMediaGroup.com. Subscribe at O'KeefeMediaGroup.com to see what really happened inside Project Veritas. You won't want to miss this.
It's really well made. I was like, why don't we have a production team like James?
Yeah, tell me.
How are you going to have a production team like James O'Keefe?
I'm not talking about the undercover.
Yeah, tell me your reaction to the film.
Oh, it was an entertaining film. It was like the music, the editing, like everything you guys did in it is like, I was entertained. Yeah, yeah, you guys did a good job. And I looked at my wife and I was like, we got to get a team that can do videos like this. Because we're very much live.
It's a lot of work, man.
I know.
It took us 2 months to make that hour-long film.
It's amazing.
That's it?
Broke paintings.
That's
well, yeah,
really?
we didn't have to go to the desert and chase the cartel down like we did.
Right.
It was
The fight scene between you and the giant lizard, I was kidding.
And the fact that it wasn't CGI, you know?
Right. They actually made the giant lizard in a giant lab.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm Libby Emmons. You can check out everything we're doing at thepostmillennial.com and humanevents.com. And I would love if you subscribe to my newsletter. I write it up every day and send it out, and people seem to like it. Which
I'm going to subscribe.
I'm very
I love
grateful for it. And you can subscribe to that at thepostmillennial.com/Libby. And I just want to thank our sponsor this month, Merriweather Farms. I've really appreciated it.
Well, before we go, one more super chat from Viral Syndicate, because he says, Phil skipped my super chat the other day. I don't think it was intentional. It's just we read as many as we can. But he did say, May 18th marked 8 years since Chris Cornell passed. In 2 months is Chester Bennington. Just keeping them alive. Rest in peace, mental health awareness. And Hybrid Theory is one of the best albums ever. And Chris Cornell was a genius. And Like a Stone is one of the greatest songs, if not the greatest song ever written. I'm not kidding. And I am surprised so many people who are Christian have not listened to that song. So aside from being a good song, I definitely recommend you listen to that one and really listen to the lyrics. Thank y'all for hanging out, and we're back on Tuesday. We'll see you then.
You did good.
He did great. He did great. I thought I liked him. I do. I liked him. I think Tim's a hard worker. I think he gets a rough go of it. I think it's really hard to do what he does, as many hours, days as that he does in the week, and still remain engaged. It's exhausting sometimes, but I think Damani gained momentum throughout the show. I think I'll say it's hard sometimes with people who are so damn good at making a point that it's hard to talk after them sometimes and find what to say. And Damani's really good at that. What else did you think overall? Was it not awesome meeting him today? Was he not just
great.
amazing?
That's the highlight of the day, is meeting him, and just like an old friend. You know,
it is.
There was no awkwardness about it, so it was fun. He did great. You calling him? Did he text you back?
Yeah.
What did he say?
I'll tell you in a second.
Are you going to put it on live?
See if he answers. I think he's busy.
Probably. He's probably doing, I mean, they just got off a couple minutes ago, so.
He's like, thanks, man. Did I nail your shout out? Yeah, you fucking nailed our shout out. I think I think my final thought for the night is just that I want to see people do well, you know? And it is so nice not to be jealous of people. Because, man, when I was in Comcast or Apple or even the military, I was so jealous if I didn't get top notch and get top billet. Like, I want success for Damani more than anything else. And I want success for Samuels, and I want success for Jason Shepard. And I'll be honest with you, it feels good to be happy where I'm at and say, I can do this for another 20 years. And then I can go find something else I want to do. So I'm just excited for the future. I feel so fortunate and blessed that we are going to get the studio and we get to bring more of this. And I'm stoked to be doing it with you. And you, without you, none of this is possible. And I love you. And you're beautiful and you're perfect. And you're sexy as hell.
Thanks. Love you.
You got your minute. Go.
You know, I hate my minute. I don't like doing it. I don't like being put on the spot.
Folks, we will be on Monday. We'll be on Monday.
You don't have to ask me anymore. I'll tell you if I want to do a minute. But I mean, all I ever say is thank you for watching. That's about it. I don't know. I'm not one to be put on the spot when I don't.
Hi, Ash.
When it's not on a topic. So.
Well, here's the deal. We'll be back on Monday, and it's Memorial Day, and we got to pay the bills. So we'll be back. Great night tonight. Thank you for your donations. You certainly have enough material to do this for 20 years. Well, Don, I appreciate it. Damani says that I don't share enough about my personal life, and there's interesting things. I need to write a book. I need to do it. But honestly, what we need to do is we just need to get more of the interviews. They are so good. I really loved Friday, and I want to continue to do this and bring interesting people. So just let us get this thing built, and we'll do it. Tim's not a bad guy. Tim's a good guy. Tim can be better. I know he can. Should have been just Damani and Tim.
I didn't realize it was gonna be a full panel. I thought it because, like I said, I've never watched the show, so I don't know how he does it. But
I will get Damani on. I'm going to tell him that we want to hear his thoughts and go from there. But anyway, folks, God bless. Thank you. We're going to have a great weekend. Have a happy and safe Memorial Day. Remember, it's not about thanking vets right now. It's remembering vets. And it's not like you can't go thank a vet. You should thank a vet every day. But this is Memorial Day. Veterans Day is different. This is the time to remember those we've lost and those no longer present. Don't forget that. And most veterans, if you tell them thank you for your service right now, they're not going to say anything. But this really is about our brothers and sisters that we've lost. I usually take Memorial Day off, but I'm going to be here this time. There's a great idea by one of our listeners, and I don't want to give their name because I don't have permission. I was that way with Chuck too. But he said, Matt, why don't you do a veteran Gold Star family? Bobby, I will call Tuesday and say, call now. What are you talking about, Bobby?
She said she'll call you on Monday for some reason.
What? Call me now. Bobby, if you need to call me right after the show. Matt, get interviewed Joe Rogan Experience. It's so funny you say that because the same person who came up with the idea about the Gold Star stories every Friday, because I know a lot of Gold Star people. Beefy, is that you? So if that was you who wrote me, I didn't know your account, but I believe if it is Beefy, he said at the end of the email that he's like, I have some friends who know Joe Rogan. I would very much like to go on Joe Rogan. I would very much just like to talk to Joe Rogan. I would kill to interview Joe Rogan. So, yep. Okay. Dude, you make that happen. But yeah, I am going to do the Friday. You're going to have to you're right, this summer. Let me get it. And then I know a lot of Gold Star moms. A ton. Thousands. And I think reaching out to the Gold Star mothers, and I know the association leaders in Maryland, Virginia, and DC, and Delaware, and reach out to them and say, I would love to have a Gold Star mom on or recognize a Gold Star family member every Friday. That's something I can do. And I think that's great. You'll get interviewed. All right. We'll see. Hey, the last person to make a huge thing came through. Chuck sent his money the next morning. So we got it in the bank account and we're spending it. Everything was okay, Matt. I forgot Monday's a holiday and I will call you Tuesday. Go and nope, I'm calling you right when we're off. Bobby, not a chance. I'm calling you. You better get ready. Get your phone on. You're not going to do that to me. I need to know. I'm not going to enjoy my weekend unless I know what's going on. I have to talk to you. All right, folks, I'm out of here. God bless. We love you. Thanks for watching tonight. We had a good time, and I'm going to call Bobby right now. So good night. Livy, thank you for being on with me. I love you.
I love you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thanks.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.